Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. It's only fair to warn you that this is very definitely a haunted house. Yes, there's a good old-fashioned ghost at large in these dark and dismal corridors. What's that? You are not afraid of ghosts? Yes. Why should you be? You've heard far too many ghost stories to be frightened by just another phantom. But be patient. We believe there's something particularly terrifying about the spirit who is about to jump out of your radio at you. We advise you not to turn off the lights when you hear this sound. Our mystery drama, You Owe Me a Death, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Henry Slessor and stars Patricia Elliott. Is there any place more fitting to begin a ghost story than a graveyard? But no, the Avondale Gardens would never use such a stark and grisly term, for this is the finest and most elegant cemetery in the Midwest, according to their brochures. And only the finest, and may I add, richest, families bring their dear departed to these peaceful grounds and manicured lawns. No swirling mist envelops the funeral procession which is now taking place. The sun shines brightly on the mourners, and yet something in the face of Irene and Daniel Weston would chill the blood of any passerby as they stand at the newly dug grave and solemnly stare at the white headstone.
Elizabeth Weston, beloved daughter of Irene and Daniel Weston, born 1954, died 1976.
Daniel, please. It's time to go.
22 years old, Irene.
I know she was 22 years old, and I know she's dead. And that's enough to know.
Is it, Irene? Is it?
The car is waiting. Cooper's been waiting for an hour.
If you want to go home, go home.
And leave you here? How would that look?
Your friends are all waiting for you, Irene, wearing their best mourning clothes. Go home. See them.
Not without you.
They can't wait to cry all over you, Irene. To show you how sad they can look. Don't spoil their fun.
Oh, dear God, how can you talk to me like that? Now, in this place.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I don't know what I'm saying. All I can think about is her.
There's no point in thinking about her. Elizabeth is gone.
No, I don't mean Elizabeth. I mean her sister.
We've already decided. There's no point in asking Heather to come home.
You decided that, Irene. I still say she'd want to be here now.
Oh, Daniel, it's over. There's nothing Heather could do here except what you're doing, wallowing in your own melancholy.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know. That's how you feel.
It's getting windy. I'm cold.
Go home, I said. Take the car. I'll manage.
All right. I'll tell you what. I'll write to Heather this evening. I'll tell her what happened. She can light a candle for Elizabeth in Rome. The city is filled with churches. Let Heather mourn her there.
And you think that would take care of it?
Yes, I do.
You're wrong. Heather would want to be here. She was Elizabeth's twin. She loved her sister.
How could she love a sister she never saw?
Oh.
All right, Daniel. If you want to struggle home by yourself, I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Irene?
Yes?
You're afraid to have Heather home, aren't you?
What?
You're afraid of her questions.
Goodbye, Daniel.
Oh, Elizabeth. My poor little girl. Forgive us. What?
Daddy.
What am I hearing?
Daddy.
Elizabeth?
Daddy.
No!
Cooper, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting.
Oh, that's quite all right, Mrs. Weston. 1 second. I'll open the car door for you.
Thank you.
Isn't Mr. Weston with you?
No, he's decided to stay there for a while.
But how will he get home?
I'd say that's his concern, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Help me!
Ma'am, did you hear something?
Only the wind.
I could have sworn I heard something.
Oh, the wind is like that. Close the door, Cooper. I'm freezing.
Yes,
Irene!
well, madam, it's Mr. Weston. I'm sure of it.
Daniel? Oh, good heavens. Cooper, hurry. Hurry.
Mr. Weston, where are you?
Help me. Please.
Mr. Weston, what happened?
It's my heart.
Oh,
My heart.
Daniel, what is it?
He's sick, Mrs. Weston. I think it's another attack.
Oh, dear Lord.
She called me. She called to me, Irene. Elizabeth.
Daniel, don't try to talk, please. Cooper, see if you can find a telephone. Get Dr. Sherman here.
Yes, ma'am.
It's too late.
Daniel.
It's too late. It's the last time, Irene. I know.
Daniel,
it is.
please, just lie still.
Now you'll have to call Heather. You'll have to tell her to come home. For my funeral.
No, I've never been to Europe myself, Miss Weston, but my wife says soon as the youngest gets herself married, who knows?
They've widened this road, haven't they?
Oh, yes, 3-4 years ago. You've been away that long?
Longer, Cooper.
My. You must talk real good Italian by now. Well, there's the house. Oh, and there's your mother, right out front.
Oh, Heather! Oh,
Mother.
Heather, how wonderful it is to see you. It's been so terribly long.
Oh, it's wonderful to be home, Mother. But for such a horrible reason.
Oh, darling, come into the house. You must be exhausted.
Oh, I'm all right. Oh, thank you for sending Cooper to the airport. It made things much easier.
Oh, my darling, you look marvelous. So pretty.
Oh, Mother.
Heather, you got prettier in Italy.
It's the way the men make you feel. Oh, Mother. Tell me all about Elizabeth.
Darling, it can wait.
No, please, tell me now. I know how Father died. I know about his bad heart, but why, Elizabeth?
She just took sick, Heather. We brought her back from that place. They couldn't keep her any longer.
Yes, you wrote me about that.
And she was home only for a few days, and she developed this fever, this terribly high fever, you see. And then she died.
Oh, why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you let me come home so I could at least have seen my sister just once before she died? My own twin.
Oh, Heather, come inside. I've got a fire going.
Well, hello there.
Oh, I didn't know you had company, Mother.
Heather, I'd like you to meet Martin Henley, our new neighbor.
Well, not really so new, Irene. Been over a year since we bought the Verdon place.
Well, I mean, new to Heather.
Oh, yes, that's right. Your mother told me you've been living abroad for quite some time.
Yes, I have. Switzerland first. I went to school in Lausanne, then a year in London, then Rome.
Heather was with the embassy.
Don't get the wrong idea. I wasn't a girl diplomat. I was just a secretary.
Well, in any case, I'm sure it's nice to be home, but not under these circumstances, of course.
Well, I should have been here long before, when my sister Elizabeth came home. Did you meet her?
No, I'm afraid not. Your twin seems to have been ill from the moment she arrived.
Oh, Heather, would you like a drink? Or do you drink now?
Yes, I can use something to warm me. Some wine, if you have it.
Well, no Chianti, but I think we have some sherry. That is, I'm sure Irene has some.
Sherry will be fine.
You know, I suggested to your mother that the four of us go out to dinner tonight. Here's your wine.
Thank you.
What I meant by the four of us, I have a son. David.
You like David, Heather. He's very easygoing.
Just out of the Navy. Just about getting his land legs back. But he's still got a sailor's eye for a pretty girl.
We thought you might enjoy that, darling.
Enjoy it? Why, I'd love it. In fact, why don't we have a party? We can hire a band and dance the night away.
Oh, darling, you misunderstood.
No, I'm just talking about a quiet evening, of course. Your mother and I just thought...
I'm glad you made all these arrangements for my amusement, Mr. Henley, but my father and my sister are dead. Only 1 month. I think I can wait just a little bit longer for continental food.
Heather, you don't have to be offensive.
If you'll excuse me, I want to take a walk.
Oh, darling, it's cold out.
I want to see the grounds,
and
Mother.
It's getting dark.
You needn't come with me. I wouldn't want to take you from your company. The old stone bench. I haven't sat in this bench for ages. I wonder if Elizabeth ever sat here. What in the world? Someone's calling me. It's my mother. I'd better go inside.
Hey, take it easy.
You scared the daylights out of me.
Well, there isn't any more daylight. Maybe that's why you bumped into me.
You're the one who was in the way.
Well, how did I know you'd come charging out of those trees?
They're my trees. Who are you?
David Henley. I was supposed to be my father here.
And me.
Yeah, I guess so. If you're Heather?
Yes, I'm Heather.
Oh.
Do you mind if I went inside? I'm cold.
Your mother said you were pretty. She didn't say you walked so fast. You want the truth? I'm glad that Dad and your mother went to the Red Barn by themselves. I hate the food there.
Too, continental.
For my taste. Give me a hamburger anytime. Does that bother you?
Oh, I haven't seen a real American hamburger in 4 years.
Wait till you try mine. In the Navy, I was known as the Barbecue King.
Your father was a Navy man, too, wasn't he?
How'd you guess?
He looks like the type. Is your father widowed?
Yep. All he's got's me.
So you're an only child. I might as well have been an only child. I never saw my twin sister.
How come?
Oh, well, she wasn't well when she was born. Some kind of congenital ailment. She had to be in hospitals, sanitariums, places like that.
She didn't die in a hospital, though, did she?
No. No, when she was 21, she was allowed to come home.
Oh, I see.
I sent her a present here. A welcome home gift. It was an antique locket I found in Naples. The kind with room for 2 portraits.
Yeah.
I took 2 identical photos of myself and I placed them inside.
Oh. Hey, you're pretty emotional about this sister of yours, aren't you?
Why shouldn't I be?
The reason's too obvious to mention.
Because I never saw her.
You got it.
Oh, but you're wrong. I did know Elizabeth. How could I not know her? She was the other half of me.
What?
Well, don't you know the theory about twins? That they're the same person, divided in half? Only an accident of biology separates them at birth, but they can't ever be truly separated.
Sounds pretty romantic. Like most legends.
I think the legends are true. I honestly believe there were times when Elizabeth felt my joys and my pain, and I hers.
I think your hamburger's ready. What do you want on your hamburger?
Oh, well, everything you got.
Onion? Lettuce and tomato?
Uh-huh.
Pickle?
Of course.
Ketchup or mayonnaise?
Both, please.
Oh, you mean it?
I said everything, didn't I?
Your burger is 12 inches high.
I can manage it. Watch. And you see what I mean? I told you I was starved for a real American hamburger.
You got ketchup all over your mouth.
Do I? Oh, where's the mirror?
It's over here.
Oh, that's not the only thing with the way I look. Why didn't you say something about my hair? Look at it.
Oh, it's just a little wind blown.
Oh, that was the strangest wind out there this evening. That's why I was running. The wind and something else.
What else?
I don't know. Oh, forget it. You know, every time I look in a mirror, well, I don't know if I'm seeing myself or Elizabeth. Well, now that my hair's combed, I guess I can finish my hamburger.
Yeah. Good Lord.
What's the matter?
The mirror.
What about it?
Oh, it must be the light or my eyes or something.
What do you mean?
Well, I could swear that when you walked away from that mirror, your face was still there.
It appears that Heather Weston is being haunted, and by the other half of herself. But what does Elizabeth Weston want of her sister? They say that ghosts only return to Earth because of a deed undone, a promise unfulfilled, a vengeance unobtained. What force has brought Elizabeth's restless spirit back to her home? And is that force one of good or evil? We'll learn more when I return shortly with Act 2. Heather Weston has come home. Home to a mother whose mourning period for her dead father and sister seems to have been abbreviated. But Heather cannot forget their existence that quickly. She knows that there is still a mystery to solve. And if she didn't know it, her sister's spirit seems to be determined to remind her.
Heather? Are you in there?
Yes, Mother.
What on earth are you doing in here?
Just looking around. Didn't you say that Elizabeth used this bedroom?
We did have her in here for a few days, but she seemed so unhappy that we moved her to the middle bedroom, your old room.
Oh, well then maybe that explains it.
Explains what, dear?
Why, I can't find anything. Not the slightest thing that belonged to her.
Why on earth do you want to?
I just do, that's all. Did you store Elizabeth's things somewhere?
No, I haven't stored anything.
Excuse me.
Where are you going?
To look in the other bedroom.
Heather, wait. Heather, what's the point of all this? You won't find anything belonging to Elizabeth.
I won't if I won't look.
Well, darling, there isn't anything to find. She brought almost nothing with her from that place.
Mother, she had to have clothes. She had to have personal belongings, books, records, a diary. Well, everyone accumulates things, Mother.
Heather, let me save you the effort. There's nothing of Elizabeth's in this room either. Not here, not in the whole house.
But why? Why was everything taken away?
There was so little to begin with.
There had to be something. Well, she wore clothes. She wasn't an animal. Or did you have to burn them? Was it that sort of illness?
No, darling. A fever. Nothing contagious.
Then why is everything wiped away, scrubbed so clean of her? I mean, you'd never know that Elizabeth existed.
Oh, she existed. Briefly, but she was here.
Then why did you do this? Why did you remove all traces?
Because there are some things in life that don't call for souvenirs.
Oh, yes. I understand. Oh, what's this?
Oh, the drawer doesn't close all the way.
It's because something's stuck in the corner. Oh, there. I've got it loose. Mother, look. It's the locket, the one I sent her from Naples.
Yes.
Oh, so you did give it to her.
Yes, I did, darling. Or I tried.
Why? Didn't she like it?
Well, for some reason, she was afraid of it.
Afraid? But why?
I don't know. I told you that Elizabeth was strange sometimes.
Do you suppose it was the identical portraits?
Well, perhaps.
Oh, Mother. That was it, wasn't it? Those photographs must have seemed so disgustingly healthy when she was so ill.
Oh, you may be right, Heather.
Oh, so the only memento I have of my sister is the one I sent her myself.
Heather, you're sure you want to sleep in this room?
Well, yes, Mother, of course. It used to be my room.
I mean, because of her.
Oh, don't be silly. It doesn't bother me that my sister used this room. Why shouldn't she?
Well, all right. Good night, then, darling.
Good night, Mother. And sleep well.
Yes, I'll try. I just wish this weather would change. The wind never seems to stop.
Well, it's this time of year, Mother, that's all.
Damn this time of year. Well, good night, Angel.
Good night, Mother. Whew. It is much too windy. I'd better shut that window. Oh. There it is again. I do hear it. I do. There's someone out there. Calling my name. Oh. Maybe someone else can hear it, too. I've got to find out. Oh, the door is stuck. Why doesn't the door open? It's locked. Good Lord, the door is locked. I can't open it. Why would Mother want to lock me in? Mother! Can you hear me? Mother, please, open the door. I can't get out of my room. Mother! I'm frightened. Oh, it's going. Oh, thank heaven the voice is going away. Ah! The door. Oh, that light. That light behind it. It's blinding. It's her. I know it's her. She wants to come in here. No, Elizabeth, no, I'm too frightened. Elizabeth, I'm your sister. I'm Heather. Why doesn't somebody else hear it? Why doesn't somebody help me? No, Elizabeth. Don't come in, don't. I'm your sister. Look, I can prove it. The locket. Elizabeth. Look at it. See, I have the locket. Oh, she's gone. She's gone. She was frightened of the locket.
Are you all right?
Mother.
Open the door, darling, please.
I can't. It's locked. You locked it.
Of course it isn't locked. Heather, what's the matter? Was it a bad dream? I heard you cry out.
That's all you heard? Only me?
Well, yes, darling. That's all.
Did you do much riding in Rome?
Not enough, I guess.
Oh, why do you say that?
Because I'm saddle sore.
You want to walk for a while?
If you don't mind.
Of course not. We can just walk them across the field.
I'm sorry. I told you I wasn't going to be much of a riding companion. I'm just feeling too depressed.
You're not depressed. You're haunted. Am I right?
You don't believe me. I know. Neither would my mother if I told her.
Told her what?
That my sister has come back from the dead.
Ooh, wow.
I don't know why, but Elizabeth is trying to reach me. She tried the moment I came home.
Is that what you were running from when you bumped into me?
Maybe I shouldn't run. Maybe I should let her reach me.
So you could talk things over with your better half?
I didn't say she was my better half, just the other half of me.
You know something? I think this twin theory of yours is dripping wet.
It was the locket that drove her away.
What?
Oh, the locket I sent from Naples.
Oh, yeah, you told me about that.
Mother says she wouldn't accept the gift. She was frightened of it. Frightened her away last night, too, when she tried to get into my room.
Well, they drive vampires away with crucifixes or a string of garlic.
I'm not going to do anything at all to drive Elizabeth away. I'm going to let her come to me.
That idea doesn't scare you?
She's my sister.
No. Can I ask you something?
Yes?
If you're not scared, then how come you're wearing that locket?
I'm very angry with you, Heather.
About what?
Martin says you're seeing ghosts.
Martin said that.
David told him about your conversation. This mad idea of yours. You have one bad dream and suddenly your house is haunted.
David had no right to say that to his father.
So it's David's fault.
This was none of Martin Henley's business.
But it's my business when he thinks my daughter is capable of believing such nonsense.
What does it matter what that man thinks?
It matters to me. If he thinks I have another feeble-minded daughter in my family...
Mother?
Oh, Heather. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean it.
It's all right.
That was dreadful. I shouldn't have said it.
No, it's all right.
Dreadful.
Did you think you were breaking the seal of some great mystery? You weren't.
Yes, but you couldn't know.
Don't you think I guessed long ago what was really wrong with my twin sister? That it wasn't a congenital ailment that put her into all those institutions?
Yes, I guess that you knew. We went through all those years fooling each other, and neither of us being fooled.
I knew there was something wrong with her brain, but do you think it made me love my twin sister less?
Didn't it?
No, Mother. And I know you didn't love her less either.
She was always a baby to me, Heather. The child inside her was never lost to me. Until the day she died. She called me Mommy.
You still mad at me?
I know you told him about my seeing ghosts. Mother was terribly upset about it. She thought I'd just about ruined her chances.
Her chances for what?
Catching herself a new husband, of course. Don't tell me you haven't figured that one out.
Yeah, guess I had some inkling.
Well, don't worry about it. You're not about to get a new sister.
The last thing I want you to be is a sister.
There isn't the slightest chance. Now that your father knows what a crazy family we are.
Heather, listen to me. You obviously don't know everything I told my father.
You told him that I saw the ghost of Elizabeth?
No, that's only half of it.
And what is the other half?
I told him that I believed you.
You what?
I believe you, Heather, because I saw her, too. Remember that night we were having hamburgers? I saw your dead twin in the mirror.
I thought you said it was your imagination or your eyesight.
I've never believed in ghosts before. But I'm willing to have someone prove this one exists.
But how?
That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Have you ever heard of a woman named Margaret Collodi?
No. No, who's she?
Well, she was a famous medium in her day. I don't even know if she does this sort of thing anymore, but when I heard she'd settled as close as Fairmont Village, I thought it was worth calling on her.
So that's why we're going there.
Mm-hmm. Is that all right with you?
Yes, I suppose so. If it's all right with Mrs. Collodi.
Well, to be truthful, she didn't sound especially glad when I told her the point of our visit.
No, I'm sorry. I haven't conducted a seance in 15 years. Things happened the last time I tried, things I had no control over.
Mrs. Collodi, we're willing to pay you for any service you can give us.
It's been years, I'm telling you. My gift may be gone.
Won't you listen to the problem, Mrs. Collodi?
Miss Weston's sister was a twin. An identical twin.
She's come back. I know she has, and I have to know why. I have to know what it is that she wants of me.
A twin. Yes, of course. I know about such things. Twins are strange ones, you know. Strange and wonderful all their lives, and sometimes beyond their lives.
What do you mean?
Twins are single souls, my child. Single souls that cannot be parted on this side of the curtain or the next.
Wait a minute. That sounds pretty silly to me.
What you have seen, what you have heard, it has happened before to other twins. My child, your sister wants to be united with you again. United as one.
But she's dead.
Yes. She can no longer share your life with you. She can only share your death.
If Mrs. Collodi is right, then Heather Weston may no longer be very happy to know what her dead sister yearns for. No matter how much she may want to see Elizabeth, Heather is perfectly willing to wait another 60 years for the pleasure of reunion. The question is, will Elizabeth let her wait? We'll find out when we return in a moment with Act 3. A strange scene is taking place in the Weston house this evening. A circle is being formed in the living room. Irene Weston and her daughter Heather are sitting with Martin Henley and his son David. And all of them are watching an eccentric old lady named Margaret Collodi. But they're not here for purposes of ordinary conversation. This little group has gathered in the hope of talking to the dead.
Well, let's get this nonsense over with.
Mother, please.
Mrs. Collodi, tell us what we have to do. Do we join hands or...
First, there must be darkness.
Of course. All mediums have to work in the dark, don't they?
Mother, give the woman a chance.
I warned your daughter. It's been many long years since I tried to contact the spirit world. And even when I had my powers, I had little control.
Now, wait a minute. What does that mean exactly?
Things would happen. Evil things sometimes.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
David, please turn off the lights.
Oh, sure. Now, we decided to do this thing. Let's do it. There.
And now, what do we do?
Now, we wait.
Mrs. Collodi. Mrs. Collodi, are you all right?
Oh, this is ridiculous. How long do we have to sit here like this?
Why, what's wrong with the woman? I think she's in a trance.
That's what she wants you to think.
She looks so strange.
I could almost swear that there's a light around her head.
It's a trick, of course, you see? She said she wasn't going to play any tricks.
Mother, shut up.
Mrs. Weston. It's true. There is a light over Mrs. Collodi's head.
I could almost swear it's a face.
I've had enough of this.
There is a face.
David, it must be her. It must be Elizabeth.
No, it looks more like the face of a man.
Good Lord.
It is a man, Heather.
David, it's my father.
She's calling your name.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! I can't stand it! Martin, let go!
I can't, Irene. Didn't seem to let go. I can't.
Stop her, for the love of God! Turn all the lights!
David, do as she says.
Mrs. Collodi. David, she's fainted.
Never mind her. Take care of your mother.
Mother, are you all right, Mother? Please. Please, Mother, look at me, please.
Yes, I'm all right.
It was my father. He came into this room. I saw him.
Only, what did it mean? What was it he said?
He said, you killed her. What did he mean, Mother?
He meant that I killed Elizabeth.
What?
It's true. I did it. I killed my daughter. You never knew the real truth about your sister, Heather, because I never wanted you to know.
Mother, I did know. I told you that. I knew that Elizabeth had some kind of mental deficiency.
Yes, she had the mind of a child, but her body...
Irene, it's only natural. The body grows and changes, even if the mind can.
No, you don't understand. Heather, you think you've seen your sister, seen her ghostly image looking just like you.
Yes, I have.
But your ghost is only in your mind. You've seen Elizabeth the way you imagined her to be, perhaps as she sometimes imagined herself.
But they were identical twins, Mrs. Weston.
They were born at the same moment, but they were not identical. Heather, your sister was different. Some accident of biology.
You mean malformed in some way?
She was twisted, cruelly twisted, her spine, her face.
Oh, dear Lord.
How you romanticized her, darling. There were times when you had me believing that Elizabeth was the mirror image of my lovely daughter. But then we'd visit her in one of those institutions, a place where we had hidden her away from the world.
But what did she know of me?
She thought about you all the time, with both shame and fear. That locket you sent her, it terrified her because she knew it wasn't her face.
Irene, what did you mean before? You didn't really kill this poor creature.
You said she died of a fever.
Yes. I chose a clever weapon, didn't I?
What do you mean?
It began almost as soon as we brought Elizabeth home from the institution. The Montgomery home wouldn't keep patients over 21 years of age. So as a birthday present for your sister, we let her come home. We had to do it. At least until we could make other arrangements. And we gave her your room, Heather. It was there she became ill. Her fever was almost constant, and one night it rose dangerously. I knew she had to have medical attention. I knew she was suffering. I could hear the suffering in her voice as she called out to me. I knew my little girl would die without something to bring the fever down. But I just walked out of that bedroom, and I knew that I would do nothing. Elizabeth was dead by morning. Daniel didn't speak one word to me until the day of the funeral.
Oh, Mother, how awful for you. I know you loved her. I know you did. As did I.
But love is not enough.
Mrs. Collodi, are you all right?
Listen to me, my child. Love is not enough. The spirit of your dead sister is determined to have the other half of her death. You must not remain in this house.
Maybe she's right, Heather. If there's the slightest danger...
I'll tell you what the danger is. The whole bunch of you being locked up as lunatics.
Dad.
Oh, David, the whole thing is nonsense, and you know it.
It's not nonsense if people are scared to the point of a nervous breakdown.
What's that?
It's just the wind, darling. What do you think it is? Your ghost?
Heather, would you think of spending the night at our place?
No, I couldn't leave my mother.
Well, no, she can come too.
And there is no place you can go. No place where the spirit of your twin cannot reach you.
Look, I think that's just about enough, Mrs. Collodi.
There is no place I have to go. This is my home. It was her home, too.
Listen, I thought I heard something.
You heard the wind, Irene.
Oh, no, more than that. A voice. A voice in the wind, Martin.
It's too easy to hear voices in the wind.
There. I heard it. I know I heard it.
I didn't hear anything.
Maybe you can't hear it the way I do.
Heather is calling your name.
I hear it.
Good Lord, you people are making me hear it now.
It's Elizabeth. She's outside.
No. Take it easy.
She wants me out there, David. Don't you see?
Yes, she wants you. She wants you to come to her.
Then I'm going.
No, Heather.
I'm not afraid, Mother.
Heather, come back.
I'm not afraid of my
Mrs. Weston, stop her. Don't let her go out there. Heather!
I'm here, Elizabeth.
Heather!
Yes.
Come. Heather, where are you? Heather! Come
to me.
No.
Make us one again.
No, Elizabeth. No, that cannot be. We cannot be one.
Come to me.
No, I'm alive, Elizabeth. Can't you see?
Come to my arms, my sister.
Heather, don't touch it. For God's sake. Elizabeth, let her alone. Elizabeth, it's me. It's your mother.
Mommy.
I'm sorry for what I did, Elizabeth. I'm sorry. I'm part of you too, Elizabeth. Mother, don't.
It's strange, isn't it? When I first arrived back home, I kept telling myself that I should go to the cemetery.
It's not my favorite place, personally.
I just thought that I should do it, that I should visit the graves of my father and my sister. But I couldn't do it.
I'm not so sure you should be here today, Heather. Not the way you've been feeling.
But I have to be here, David. This time, I have 3 graves to visit.
Three graves. A family reunion for the Westons. Except that young Heather Weston still has a long and happy life ahead of her. Oh, yes, we can tell you what happened to her. Heather married David Henley. They were very happy. And very recently, they were the proud parents of a set of lovely twins. I'll be back shortly. We don't know whether our little story has made you believe in ghosts, but then how can you not believe, since you have a disembodied voice in your own home this minute? It's my voice, the voice of E.G. Marshall, who hopes to be haunting you again very soon. Our cast included Patricia Elliott, Vicky Vola, Russell Horton, William Redfield, and Ann Petoniak. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall, walking delegate to this union of demons, devils, shades, and spirits, plus other assorted practitioners of the outre and the macabre. The truest maxim, perhaps, of them all, is the one that says, you can't get something for nothing. Not only is it true from the ethical point of view, it is also a demonstrable scientific fact. Well then, with both science and morality on its side, why is this self-evident principle so universally disregarded? Why do so many of us try to make a full-time career of reaping without sowing? Our mystery drama, You Can Change Your Life, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Ralph Bell. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. The lowing herd winds slowly o'er the lea. The plowman homeward plods his weary way and leaves the world to darkness and to me. As it happens, the darkness is not only left to the poet. Darkness is available to whoever cares to make use of it. By their very nature, some deeds can only be performed in the darkness, such as the one you're about to witness. Maria Concepcion Valdez gets off the bus. She stands on the dark, fog-shrouded street corner. Where is Arturo? He always meets her here when she works late. Neither he nor she is happy that she must walk a long, lonely block at this hour. Maria smiles, and her smile is something to see. At 40, she is still slender, trim, and beautiful. Perhaps Arturo has forgotten. But how could he forget? He didn't.
Arturo, did you fall asleep? Oh, excuse me. I thought you were my husband, Arturo.
Excuse me. Are you Mrs. Maria Concepcion Valdez?
Oh, that's Maria Concepcion.
Oh, I stand corrected. My name is Eugene Parmenter.
Yes?
And I wonder, Ms. Valdez, do you remember me?
Oh, do I remember you?
Mm-hmm.
No, I cannot say that I do.
This would go back 11 years?
11 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my. For me, that would have been another world.
For me, too.
Well, Mr. Parmenter, what is it you wish?
Well, it's, I find it inconceivable that you wouldn't remember me.
Well, sir, perhaps if you were to tell me...
You changed the entire course of my life.
Oh, me?
Yes.
But how?
You judged me.
Oh, no. No, that cannot be. No, you are making a mistake. You are confusing me, perhaps, with someone else.
No. There's no mistake.
But I have never been a judge. Indeed, I would never be a judge.
Think back. 11 years. A night filled with music, with laughter, in a great hall with brilliant lights.
I really...
Parmenter. Eugene Parmenter. Do you remember me? Think.
Oh, please, sir, if you will excuse me...
You judged me.
I must be on my way.
Say my name. Eugene Parmenter. Say it.
Eugene Parmenter.
Now, do you remember? Do you remember judging me? And do you remember condemning me?
I never condemned anybody, never.
And now it is my turn.
Oh, senor, please.
My turn.
Please. Don't kill me. Not with a knife. No. Help me. Madre de Dios.
What do you want?
I want Mrs. Gussie Valkovska.
And now that you've found me...
I'm Police Lieutenant Weiss.
And you want to come in and talk to me. Well, since I can't stop you, let's get it over with. Leave me save you a lot of time. You want to talk to me about the murder of Maria Concepcion Valdez last night.
It happened just down the street. Now, did you hear anything?
I didn't hear nothing, because I wasn't home.
Well, where were you?
What's the matter? Do I need an alibi?
I only wanted to ask you...
Who killed her? Go ahead. Ask me.
I thought you said you weren't here.
It's open and shut.
What are you talking about?
I know who killed her. Her husband. That Arturo.
Why do you say that?
Why do I say that? Listen. Hear that? These walls are like cardboard. I think they are cardboard. You can hear every word they say next door. I used to sit by the wall all night. A cup of tea, some fruit, some cake, and just listen.
To what?
To the arguments Maria and Arturo used to have each and every night.
What about?
Well, you gotta know the background, Captain Weiss.
I'm only a lieutenant.
You're gonna get promoted because you're about to solve this case. It's the old story.
What old story?
They come here from Cuba 12, 15 years ago. He was kind of rich, but he was lucky to get out with a shirt on his back, you see. Well, I don't know. He couldn't seem to get started up here. Everything went wrong for him.
Mrs. Valdusco, all I want to know is why you say he killed her.
Like I was saying, the only work he could get was the kind of thing that was considered beneath his station, like it says in the books.
Well, meanwhile, she got a job and she started making more money than he did.
How did you know?
I've read the books, too.
So, he gets jealous. He says, I won't have you working in that place with all those men at night.
What kind of a place was it?
A bank or a stockbroker. He said he was dishonored that his wife worked at night in an office with men. And she asked, why did he feel dishonored that his wife had to work, period? And he accused her of being sweet on one of the guys, and she laughed at him. And he said if she didn't quit, he'd kill her.
He said he would kill her, those words?
Those exact words.
When did this argument take place?
The argument, in the sense that they was having a difference of opinion, had been going on for years. But it didn't start getting hot till she got this new job. Let's see, last month.
And you distinctly heard him say, I'll kill you.
Yes, sir. And I even says to her, listen, Maria, this guy sounds like he could do it, too. But she only laughed and said, poor Arturo. And then she sighed and said, I may have outgrown him.
Thank you, Mrs. Valdowska. Thank you very much.
But, Lieutenant, why would I kill Maria? Why would I kill my wife?
Mr. Valdez, is it true you fought?
Yes, we fought, but all married couple fight.
Continuously, bitterly?
What
did you fight about?
There are those things between a man and wife which need not be discussed with strangers.
We are investigating a murder.
Investigate? But why question me?
Mr. Valdez, your wife was murdered near the bus stop.
By some subhuman monster, some thief who...
Her money was still in her purse. She still wore her rings and bracelets. We must discount robbery as the motive. What'd you fight about with your wife, Mr. Valdez?
I am not required to tell you.
All right, shall I tell you? She was making more money than you. You resented it. And she was beginning to resent it, too. Your marriage was coming apart.
That's a lie. I was a very wealthy young man back in the old country. We were allowed to take nothing with us. I never learned how to make a living. She said, you must change your whole attitude. You must go to school, learn a trade, a profession, anything. I could not do it. You understand?
Frankly, no.
Too many generations of blue blood. But she learned. And she was becoming another person, a stranger. I tried to keep her, but she...
And so you killed her?
No.
You would meet her at the bus stop every evening?
Yes.
But last night you didn't?
No.
Why not?
I must have fallen asleep. I was awakened by the police who rang my bell to tell me that...
Yes, I know. I'll tell you what sounds more logical, Mr. Valdez. Last night you went to the bus stop, as usual, to meet your wife. And you had the usual argument. And in a fit of anger, you killed her.
But it's not true. I wouldn't. I couldn't kill Maria Concepcion.
Where were you?
I was home. I told you I had fallen asleep.
Had it ever happened before? Had you ever missed meeting her at the bus stop?
I was very tired. I just fell asleep.
Which means you have no alibi.
No. You must believe me.
Now, Mr. Valdez, you could have gone to the bus stop last night.
But I did.
You could have waited for her, had the fight, the usual fight.
But I tell you,
I reached that terrible point where you lost control and killed her.
No.
When you realized what you had done, you became horrified. You ran from the spot.
But I was
You
not...
raced back to your home, to the security of your room.
No.
Now, you went to sleep because you wanted to believe that you had been asleep all the time.
It's a lie.
Well, you asked me, Mr. Valdez. I'm telling you what happens to many people who commit murder.
But
people like you who are not professional criminals, who will only kill perhaps once in their lives, and only when they're driven beyond all endurance.
No, I didn't kill her. I tell you, I didn't kill her.
Yes, you probably believe you didn't kill her.
Lieutenant, what am I going to do?
If I were you, I'd get a lawyer.
Well, Mr. Parmenter, I can promise you, in less than 1 week's time, you shall be an acceptable bridge player.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, yes, indeed. The Borden School of Bridge guarantees results. I mean, provided you can count to 13.
Oh, I think I can handle that, Miss Borden.
Oh, good. Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you. Oh, excuse me. Hello? Oh, yes, darling. Well, I'm closing right now. The new student is here. Oh, well, I just have to get his name and everything. I won't be long. Sure thing. Bye, dear. Well, now, just let me fill out this form.
You said it's been a pleasure to meet me, but we have met before, you and I.
Oh, have we?
Oh, yes. And I remember you very well.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes. It was 11 years ago.
11 years? Oh, that's ancient history.
Well, to you, perhaps. But to me, it's real, living, vital history.
I'm trying to place you.
Remember me now?
No.
And my name? Eugene Parmenter? Means nothing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I suppose I should.
You changed the entire course of my life.
Oh, well, how can you say that?
Yes, you sat in judgment.
Now, I'm afraid I can't follow that at all.
You judged me and found me wanting.
Well, how is it I don't remember any of that?
To you, it meant nothing. Oh, no. But to me, it was my life. You condemned me.
Oh, Mr. Parmenter, are you sure you have the right...
Look at me closely. Look at me. Now look at me.
Sir, I'm afraid I must ask you to leave.
Now look at me, you stupid woman.
Now, see here. No, don't. Please don't point that knife at me.
I'm going to kill you.
Why?
Because you sentenced me to misery for 10 years.
You won't get away with it.
Or perhaps I wouldn't if I used a gun.
Help!
You know as well as I do there's no one here.
You'll be caught.
With a gun, they can identify bullets. A knife leaves no trace at all.
Why?
Look at me closely. Now, do you remember?
Eugene Parmenter. Yes, I remember.
Good. Now you won't die in ignorance.
But I didn't do anything.
You condemned me.
No, don't.
Well, that's twice Mr. Eugene Parmenter has committed murder. The first time, the police found someone who could conveniently be blamed, showing that sometimes even murderers can have fringe benefits. Will Mr. Parmenter be lucky this time again? That will depend on Homicide Lieutenant Charles Weiss. As you can see, quite a second act is building up, and I shall be here with it in just a few moments. Mr. Eugene Parmenter has been busy recently, settling what appears to be some old grievances. What makes this of interest to the police is the fact that he has been settling them with a knife. Of course, the police don't know about Mr. Parmenter yet. Indeed, why should they? His first murder has a logical suspect, and as for his second...
Now or later, Terry.
Now or later, what?
Are you going to make a statement?
Hey, what do you mean, a statement?
Telling us how and why you killed her.
Lieutenant, are you crazy? I mean, have you lost your mind?
Terry, you've been cheating on her.
Oh, okay, all right.
You've been robbing a blind here at the school.
What are you talking about?
She's got you in court. She's got a lawsuit against you.
Well, let me explain
Well,
that.
what's to explain, Terry? It's more than just a civil action to recover money. You could be up against embezzlement, fraud. You could go to jail.
Lieutenant, let me level with you, huh? Okay, she was mad at me.
Oh, come on, Terry. Let's stick to the facts.
These are the facts, Lieutenant. Sure, I robbed her blind, but I was entitled to all I could get. I gave her what she wanted. Fair exchange.
All I know is you have the strongest of motives. She'd thrown you out into the street, you were on your way to jail.
But don't you understand, Lieutenant? It happened all the time, regular, like clockwork. This time it went a little further, because she was a little madder. But she calmed down like she always did. She couldn't do without me. Both of us knew it. All she was doing was letting off steam.
Try that story in front of a jury. You might be lucky. You were the last one to see her alive at a club.
No. No, that isn't true. The killer was the last
Witnesses
one.
saw you in that building at 6 p.m.
Well, I don't deny I was there. I'd come to make up with her, and I did. We did. And she said, run along and meet me at Larago's restaurant. Somebody's coming by in a couple of minutes to sign up for lessons. And I did.
And who was this somebody?
I don't know. But he must have been the guy that killed her.
Terry, you have to realize that we only have your word for the fact that you and Miss Borden had made up last night. And that you no longer had a motive. And that there was a mysterious visitor to her office.
But it's true. Maybe there is a mad killer running around.
A mad killer?
Okay, a couple, 3 nights ago, this dame was murdered on the street corner. She was stabbed, wasn't she?
What are you trying to tell me, Terry?
Okay, last night, Elizabeth Borden gets stabbed to death. Now, the same guy could have done it.
And what was his motive?
What was his motive for killing the other dame? Now, come on, give me a break, huh? Don't close it up. I know I'm hip-deep in circumstantial evidence, but I tell you, I didn't kill her.
Okay, Terry. Think about it.
No, you think about it. She was the goose who was laying the golden eggs. Why should I be crazy enough to kill her?
Homicide, Lieutenant Wise. Yes, Doctor. Right. This Miss Elizabeth Borden was murdered the other night. Is there any way at all we can tell if it was with the same knife that killed the Valdez woman? Mm-hmm. Well, then the wound, is there anything about it that could tell us if it was administered by the same person? Uh-huh. So the position was exactly the same. I see. Yes, I know it's not conclusive. Well, okay, Doc, thanks. Mr. Valdez, I'd like to talk to you.
Why, Lieutenant?
I may be able to offer you a slight ray of hope.
Hope? For what?
The evidence is all against you so far, but there's a chance you may not be the killer.
No, I am the killer.
What?
You see, after you had left me the other day, I thought and thought for hours. And of course, you were right. I killed her.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah. She no longer loved me. That's because when we came here, she began to grow into someone else, and I had refused to grow at all. I struck out at her wildly, blindly, and so I killed her.
You confess, then?
Man, I must have killed her. Who else would have?
But you don't actually remember doing it.
Oh, no, I must have blotted it forever from my memory.
Another woman was stabbed to death last night.
Unhappily, there is never a shortage of maniacs.
Well, it could have been a random killing, or it may be a pattern, or, tell me, the name Elizabeth Borden, is that familiar?
Elizabeth Borden?
Did you ever hear your wife mention Elizabeth Borden?
Yes.
In what connection?
Maria said, it was months ago. She said, you will never guess who I ran into today, Elizabeth Borden.
And?
And that was all.
What else did she say?
Nothing. You see, women are, they are a race unto themselves. She said, I ran into Elizabeth Borden as if I knew who she was.
Elizabeth Borden and your wife were both stabbed to death. Possibly by the same man.
No, Lieutenant. I am sure I killed my wife.
What do you want to look in an apartment for, Lieutenant? Ain't the case closed?
Did you ever hear Mrs. Valdez speak of an Elizabeth Borden?
Elizabeth Borden. Say, ain't she the one that was murdered? Hey, you figure the same guy... But, I could have sworn old Arturo was the culprit.
You never heard her mention Elizabeth Borden?
Never. What are you looking for?
Anything that might give me a lead.
You ain't happy with Arturo, huh?
As long as there's a possibility that...
You think she was good looking now? Here's a picture. I can tell by the hairstyle and the dress. It's got to be 10, 11 years ago. Look at her. Wasn't she gorgeous? Who are these other two dames in the picture?
Now, wait a minute. The one in the middle. Why does she look familiar, too?
The one in the middle. Yeah. I've seen that face before.
Yeah, so have I.
Wait a second. In the paper. Just recent.
Now, she's a good 10 years younger, but that's got to be Elizabeth Borden. The two of them. They're connected.
Sure. The one on the left, that's Maria Concepcion. The one in the middle, that's got to be Elizabeth Borden. But the third one, the lady on the right, who's she?
Hello? Are you Penelope Simpson? Well, my name is Eugene Parmenter. I hope you remember me. Oh, you don't? Well, look, we're having a get-together of the You Can Change Your Life alumni. Well, I guess alumni is not quite the word. Oh, hey, do you remember any of the other girls? Look, I happen to be at the Rathskellers. It's just a block away from your office, and, well, I know this is short notice, but it's 5 o'clock. Could you meet me here for a drink on your way home, and we can talk about it? Oh, don't worry. No, I remember what you look like. How could I ever forget?
Now, Mr. Valdez, I know you told me you never heard of Elizabeth Borden. Now, this is her picture. Does she look familiar?
No, Lieutenant.
The other woman in the photograph?
No, Lieutenant.
Mr. Valdez, this is a picture of 3 women. 2 of them have already been murdered. I have to find out who is the third lady.
But, Lieutenant, you have convinced me. I must have killed Maria Concepcion.
No. Now, evidently there is someone who was out to kill your wife and this Elizabeth Borden woman, and now maybe this other.
You don't know how much I wanted to kill her. You see, I am no longer a man. She supported me.
Look closely at the picture. Do you know where it was taken?
I don't remember.
Isn't there anything about her that's familiar?
I shouted at her. I yelled at her.
What do you mean?
The dress.
What dress?
You see the dress in the picture. She bought the dress. It cost too much money. We were poor.
Why did she want a dress?
Because she's a woman. And women are vain.
Okay. Now, this is maybe 10 years ago. You had an argument with your wife about a dress, but she bought it. And she's wearing this dress in this picture.
Oh, please.
Now, try to remember the argument about the dress, please.
Why did she want the dress? Why? Oh, yes, because she said millions of people would be looking at her.
Where?
Where? On the television, that's where. It was a program, how you call it, a giveaway program. It was called, I don't remember.
All right, tell me everything you do remember.
Yeah. She had written a letter. I did not hold with such foolishness. She had applied to be a judge.
What kind of a judge?
A judge who would judge the people, the contestants. And she was accepted, and that is why she wanted the dress.
Is it possible that these women were also on the program?
Is it possible? Here, let me look again. Oh, let me try to remember. She was sitting behind a huge desk with 2 other women. And she was wearing this dress. Yes, it could be. These might have been the other women.
Hold it a minute. Lieutenant Wise. Yes. What's her name? Penelope Simpson. Same kind of wound, huh? All right, I'll get right on over there. The name Penelope Simpson, Valdez, does that mean anything to you?
No, Lieutenant. Are you going to put me back in my cell?
Now, Mr. Valdez, how many times must I tell you you did not kill your wife? You're free. Now, there's no point in your coming around here anymore. Nobody's going to arrest you.
She had called me. She said she had a date for cocktails.
Did she say with whom?
Well, no. But you see, she was in a hurry.
Mrs. Simpson, I have a photograph here, and I wonder if you
No, I couldn't.
Well, I want you to identify, if you can, 2 other ladies who were posing with your daughter.
I'm sorry. I can't help you.
But why not, Mrs. Simpson?
Because I'm blind.
But you...
Because I'm in this room, which I know so thoroughly, every square inch.
I see. Well, this is a photo. It's very good. Must have been professionally done. It's in color. We have here your daughter and a woman named Maria Concepcion Valdez. Is that name familiar?
I don't think so.
And the other is Miss Elizabeth Borden. Would you know of her?
Oh, Elizabeth Borden. No. Oh, wait. Oh, I should remember Elizabeth Borden.
Why? Why should you remember Elizabeth Borden? Had your daughter ever mentioned that name?
I think so.
In connection with a television show?
Oh, a TV show. Oh, no. I think... well, perhaps if you were to tell me the name of the show...
Oh, I don't know the name. It was a giveaway kind of thing.
What were they giving away?
I don't know exactly.
Well, what were they doing on the program? This is rather peculiar, you know. You're the police officer, and I'm asking the question.
Well, sometimes you find out more that way. I don't know what they were giving away, but it had to do with judging.
Judging? Oh, I remember. It was called You Can Change Your Life.
Thank you, Mrs. Simpson. Thank you. I'm so sorry we didn't know all this much sooner.
Well, what is it that we do know? We know that 3 women who may have been on a TV program more than a decade ago have come to a violent end. And the perpetrator is a gentleman who considers himself an aggrieved party. The name of the show, You Can Change Your Life. Really? How? How was it supposed to work? Why don't you meditate until I return with enlightenment in just a few moments? Three women of completely different backgrounds murdered. Offhand, there is no connection between them. It could have been a mad random killer. But Police Lieutenant Charles Weiss realized that there is always a method to madness and an order to randomness. And he has succeeded in placing all 3 women in the same place at the same time.
And your daughter was on this program, Mrs. Simpson?
Yes. She had written in and she had asked to be a judge. They paid each judge $500. Oh, the floodgates have opened. I remember everything. But what does this have to do?
You can change your life. Now, who was the...
Star. Oh, you don't remember Ted Tinker?
No, I can't say that I do.
The show went off the air, 8, 9 years ago. Because Ted Tinker had a stroke. Oh, he was such a lovely person. So gentle, so kind, so humane, so involved.
Well, Lieutenant, it was a great show. You know, there's a sucker born every minute.
Would you remember these 3 ladies, Mr. Tinker?
Oh, look, I was on 15 years, 790 shows. I'd be on today if I didn't have to be in a wheelchair.
Is there any way you could identify...
It could be a terrific gimmick, you know what I mean? The wheelchair bit? Look at the career Lionel Barrymore had for himself. But the agencies don't buy it.
About these 3 ladies...
Look, Lieutenant, I'm organized. Organization, that's how you run show business. Each one of my judges, she gets a picture, $500, a smile, a sincere thank you. There's a letter and a number on the back of that picture.
Yes, K1.
All right, in back of you, that row of drawers, the one marked K. All right, I got it. Now, there's a folder marked 1. Take it out. All right, hand it over. So, what do we got here? K is 1965. Now, here we are. And 1 is the first show. Judges, your 3 ladies. Maria Conception Valdez, Elizabeth Borden, tall skinny dame, and Penelope Simpson.
Uh-huh. What was their function on the show?
They gave away $25,000 every week. And every week we had 3 new judges.
And this particular week they were the judges. How did it work?
Well, it was a sob story program. You mean you never watched it?
No.
What were you doing? Living in exile someplace? You know the ratings I had?
What did they do?
Every week, 2 creeps would come on the show. You think you run into weirdos in your business? So, these 2 characters each week would say how they could change their lives for the better if they had $25,000.
And
that was it. It's the gimmick. It was good for 15 years till I got sick and...
And the judges, I would suppose, decided who would receive the prize, eh?
Yeah, but don't brush off the genuine, authentic grassroots appeal. I mean, these were folks who wanted to change their lives, to become something greater, something better, to be a credit to their country and their community.
Don't try to sell me. I'm not a sponsor.
K1. We had these 3 women as judges, and the contestants were... Oh, you should have seen the neck on this guy. He was one of the contestants. I called him Ichabod Crane. The audience broke up.
What was his name?
Jerry Dawson. And the other guy, a very quiet-looking creep named Eugene Parmenter.
Who was the winner?
The jury decided in favor of the neck, Jerry Dawson.
And the loser was...
Eugene Parmenter.
On what basis did the ladies decide?
Well, they're all 3 dead, so I guess we'll never know, eh?
Well, what kind of stories did the contestants tell?
Stories? Do I know? Do I remember? Great tragedies, a chance to begin anew. Are you saying I had a sore loser that night and he was mad enough to kill the judges?
No, it's only a hypothesis.
So why does that crumb wait 10 years?
I don't know.
Hey, wait a minute. I remember. He went to jail.
For what?
It was a month after the show. I remember, it was in the paper. He stole a lot of money from some company he worked for.
And he went to jail?
He got 10 years. Which means he just got out, and just in time to kill those 3 ladies. Hey, sure, it figures. He was sore at them.
10 years. That's a long jail term just for stealing.
Well, there was some assault wound up in it, too. You see, when the cops come after him, he put up a fight. Pretty violent guy. I remember he started a bad scene after the show was over. I had to call the cops.
Parmenter. Eugene Parmenter. Lieutenant Rice. Yeah. Okay. Inspector, we got a tape of that show. We got a great description of the guy. We've circulated it all over. Every cop has an eye out for him. All we can do now, Inspector, is wait. Yeah, I'm staying with it.
I knew this was the right place when I heard your voice, Lieutenant.
Oh, Mrs. Simpson. Here, let me help you to a chair.
Thank you.
What can I do for you?
It's been a month, Lieutenant, hasn't it? Since the murder of my daughter and those 2 other ladies?
I'm sorry. We're doing the best we can. Crimes are solved by routine.
I don't think you will ever find Eugene Parmenter that way.
That's the only way we have.
Why were my daughter and the others killed?
Because some psychotic held them responsible for his failure.
Precisely. And he had to have his revenge. Why shouldn't he drop quietly out of sight? Even leave the country. Disappear forever.
We hope that won't happen.
I have a suggestion.
You have?
Yes. Why should Mr. Parmenter believe his work is finished?
Oh, because he's already murdered those 3 women who he believes had wronged him.
Yes, but suppose he can be convinced he made a mistake.
I don't follow that.
Suppose it should turn out that he had killed them for nothing. then what?
I still don't understand.
Suppose he were to discover that the judges on that program were only figureheads, window dressing, that the decision was really made by Mr. Ted Tinker, who secretly conveyed the verdict to the judges.
And that would make Mr. Parmenter so furious that he would attempt to murder Mr. Tinker?
Yes. You could guard Mr. Tinker night and day, and thus catch Mr. Parmenter in the act as he attempts...
Mrs. Simpson, we can't do that. We are restricted by various constitutional...
Very well. I shall do it myself.
Oh, now, Mrs. Simpson...
I shall tell the reporters that my daughter gave me the inside information that it was Mr. Tinker who really made the decision.
But that's not true.
How would anyone know? I say my daughter told me. Can you prove she didn't?
Well, Mrs. Simpson, we can't stop you.
I'm so glad to be on the evening news over your station. Penelope told me everything about that old-time show. They were not really the judges. They were just there to look pretty. Mr. Ted Tinker told them what to do.
That's not true. That is not true.
Mr. Tinker decided in advance who the winner would be.
That is a lie.
And the girls, of course, were willing to go along with him.
You're lying.
I suppose it can be told now. This poor, demented man, he killed them for nothing.
What do you mean I killed them for nothing? I killed them because they wouldn't give me a chance to win. I killed them for nothing? Oh, no, it was Ted Tinker. He fooled me. He was the one who could have changed my life. He was the one.
I am going to sue your station for every nickel you got. And that stupid reporter. I never said who the winner should be, and I can prove it. I got witnesses, my director, my scriptwriters. You're in bad trouble, baby. The next voice you hear will be my lawyer.
Hello, Mr. Tinker?
What? Who are you?
Huh?
How'd you get in here?
You don't remember me? I'm Eugene Parmenter.
No. Nah, you ain't. I remember what you look like.
I changed my face just enough. But people who stare hard can...
Listen, I don't care what you heard on TV. It was the dames. They decided I had nothing to do with it.
You should have overruled them. After all, my case was so obviously more worthy.
Now, look, don't do anything crazy.
I said I needed the money in order that I may not drop into the searing fires of shame. Now, I said I needed it to right a wrong, and everybody laughed.
I didn't laugh. Believe me, I was moved. I cried.
Then why didn't you help me? Why didn't you give me the money that could have saved my reputation and kept me from prison?
Because the game had to be played by the rules, and the judges said...
You were the judge.
No. It isn't true. Believe me, she's a senile old lady. Can't you see what she's doing? She's setting you up. Hey, look. Put away the knife. Beat it fast, and you're in the clear. I won't even say you showed up.
No, not until you pay the price.
You're crazy. Hey, no, don't come near me.
Don't you... Let go of the knife. Parmenter, let go of the knife. Let go. Drop it. That's
But he was the one. He was the one I had to kill. The others, they were a mistake. I'm sorry.
Yes, we're all sorry. Daly, Jim, get the cuffs on him. All right, take him down.
I'll come out of jail one day, Ted Tinker. Oh, you'll pay the price.
Hey, Lieutenant, did you set this up?
No, Mrs. Simpson arranged it all by herself. We simply had to protect you in case of danger.
I'm going to sue her and the station for every nickel that... Although, you want to know something? She guessed it. She's right. I did call all the shots. That fool, he killed all those poor dames for nothing.
Which is what most murders are done for. Nothing. Considering death is so final, couldn't there be a better way? Well, I have suggestions for many better ways, but first you listen to some messages, and then I shall return. Something for nothing. A change of the entire direction of your life in one grand moment. Manna from heaven. No, it doesn't happen. And yet, how many hopes are based on it? How many people wait breathlessly for the big win, the long shot, the lottery ticket, and thus do their lives flow silently away. The only thing you should wait for regularly is this program, 7 times each week. Our cast included Ralph Bell, Earl Hammond, Bryna Rayburn, Robert Dryden, and Martha Greenhouse. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
It's the sound of bright and beautiful music. This is KIXI, Seattle. CBS News. President Ford and Congress have again failed to agree on how to turn out a tax cut. This is Doug Poling reporting on the CBS radio network. Senator Russell Long, the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, said, "We were unable to agree on anything." That statement came after congressional leaders met with the president Thursday night. Both sides were after a compromise on a bill to continue this year's tax cuts into 1976 and cut taxes some more. Congress continues to resist the president's demand that a $395 billion federal spending ceiling be tied to a tax measure. Senator Long says there is no doubt now the president will veto the tax bill, which will probably be sent to him next week. A large number of Republicans have now deserted the president on the issue. Democrats say they think they can override if the president does veto the bill. An extremely large award has been granted by a court in Florida to a young man who suffered a football injury 4 years ago. The story reported by Bob Kaplitz in Miami.
Since 1971, Greg Stead has been paralyzed from the neck down as a result of a tackle he made in a high school football game. He sued the company that allegedly made the helmet he was wearing, Riddell Incorporated of Chicago, for $5 million in damages, claiming the helmet was badly designed. Attorneys for Riddell argued that Stead wasn't wearing their helmet. But a jury decided that the injury was caused by the helmet and awarded Greg Stead and his parents $5.4 million.
I just hope that this will prevent anybody else from getting hurt in my situation. I like the sport. It's a great sport. I just hope they make it a better, better equipment.
Attorneys for Riddell Incorporated say they haven't decided yet whether they'll appeal this case, which might open the door to more lawsuits against manufacturers of sports equipment. Bob Kaplitz for CBS News, Miami.
San Francisco voters went to the polls Thursday to elect a mayor. The winner will succeed Joseph Alioto, but there may not be a winner for a while. The two candidates, George Moscone and John Barbagelata, are very close right now, and the pollsters say they're unable to project the winner. Daniel Moynihan, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Thursday night made another highly critical speech against the world body. Speaking to the General Assembly, Moynihan said the Assembly has become a theater of the absurd and thinks contempt for the UN is increasingly deserved. Moynihan reacted sharply against a UN report charging the United States with maintaining bases in the Virgin Islands as a threat against Latin American and Caribbean nations. This is Doug Poling, CBS News. CBS News. The big powers are increasing their investment of arms, money, and manpower in the war in Angola. I'm Jerry Landay reporting on the CBS radio network. The New York Times quotes a high-ranking government official who says the Soviet Union has sent 27 shiploads of military supplies to the former Portuguese colony since the spring, as well as continuing supply missions from the air. As of last week, the administration estimates that 4,000 Cuban troops are fighting alongside MPLA forces in Angola, as well as manning Soviet tanks and rockets. The United States, which has joined South Africa, and China, assisting the forces opposed to the MPLA, have reportedly sent $25 million in arms and support funds in the past 3 months, and plans to dispatch another $25 million to counter Soviet and Cuban efforts. But the source says there are no American advisors in Angola. A prisoner of the MPLA for nearly 3 weeks, CBS News correspondent Don Webster was released on Thursday. Webster confirming the heavy shipment of Soviet arms and Cuban troops, which he said represent the bulk of the MPLA effort. Released with Webster was his cameraman, Bill Muchman. Both had been accused of being CIA agents.
They had nothing to charge us with. We were there trying to cover stories for this broadcast. We did nothing illegal. We followed all of their rules. But we were Americans. It was the crime of a passport. That is, they don't like Americans. At one time, we were the only Americans in all of Angola, and that was our only offense.
Webster describing his treatment as brutal. More news in a minute. President Ford and Senate leaders have failed to resolve their differences over tax cut legislation in a meeting of nearly 2 hours, and an end-of-the-year veto fight now appears unavoidable. Mr. Ford is holding out for a bigger tax cut, coupled to a ceiling on spending for fiscal 1977. Most of the leadership at the meeting want a simple extension of the cuts implemented earlier this year. Republican Senator Carl Curtis said the president went halfway.
Now, I think the president has made quite a compromise. He hasn't asked for an immediate rescission. He's merely asked for the setting of an objective of a dollar-for-dollar reduction in expenditures if we're to have a tax cut now. If the Congress, in its wisdom, has to modify that later, the president can't veto it. I think he's gone a long way in compromise. He'd gone farther than I would.
A Republican colleague disagrees with Curtis. Senator Henry Bellman says Congress should not agree to spending cuts before it sees what the president proposes to spend in the next fiscal budget. Senator Edward Kennedy has told a news agency he will file an affidavit removing his name from the Democratic list in the Massachusetts presidential primary. According to a new Gallup poll, more independent and registered Republican voters who were surveyed now favor Ronald Reagan for the GOP nomination over President Ford. 6 weeks ago, Reagan trailed the president by 6% among independents. In a sharp reversal, Reagan now leads Mr. Ford by a slim margin of 2% in that category. Among Republicans, Mr. Ford's 23-point lead of mid-October has now become an 8-point deficit. Now this.
As new as this minute, that's Reporter at Large, Sundays on most of these stations. I'm Leslie Stahl, CBS News. I've been given free rein by CBS News to pick my own story, follow it up, and report to you on Reporter at Large. And you can be sure I'll go after those stories that have the most significance and bearing on today, in everything from A to Z, from the arts to zoology. Join me, your Reporter at Large, Sundays on most of these CBS radio network stations.
An American professor of geophysics reports that a Soviet-American research team has developed a computer model which will let scientists predict roughly when and where large earthquakes may strike, though not the exact time or size of the quake. In preliminary tests, the model is said to have predicted large tremors with an accuracy of 80%.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. I'm afraid the chairs aren't very comfortable, but that doesn't matter because in just a moment, you'll be sitting on the edge of them.
For we'll be bringing you the tale of the thing inside. A strange and potent force sealed up and held in check that cried to be released. And once it was freed, brought terror and death to a whole countryside. Our mystery drama, The Thing Inside, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Robert Newman and stars Ralph Bell and Bryna Rayburn. What is evil? Is it abstract or concrete? Does it seek us out or do we seek it? Either way, there is something in all of us that senses its presence. And when we do, most of us draw back from it in fear. But occasionally, for reasons we do not always understand, we are attracted to it and come under its spell, thus freeing it to work its destruction on an unsuspecting world. Our story begins as John and Sarah Farrar get out of their car and walk towards a rather shabby and run-down antique shop in a small New England village.
Not much of a place.
No. Still, you never know. Paul's picked up some pretty nice things in places like this. That tavern sign, for instance.
That's true.
Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. Do you mind if we look around?
Nope, not at all. You looking for anything in particular?
Oh, no, not really. Possibly some dishes. Do you have any white ironstone?
Nope, I'm afraid not.
It doesn't matter. That's a rather nice painting there.
Schooner? Yes, it is.
Oh, well, do you know anything about it?
Nope, except that it's American. Early 19th century.
John, look at this.
What? Oh, yes. Did you say early 19th century?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'd say it wasn't more than 20 years old. A copy of something earlier.
Why do you say that?
Because of the condition of the canvas and the varnish.
You a dealer?
No, I'm a painter.
Oh, well, you may be right.
I'm sure I am. Oh, hello.
Oh, have you found something?
Yes. Can you tell us anything about this?
Oh, a glass paperweight?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. At least I think so.
What do you think of it, Sarah?
Well, it's interesting.
Yes, it is. Especially when you hold it up to the light. When you turn the ball, it moves. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Neither have I. Paul would probably know what it is.
He might. How much do you want for it?
$5.
What do you say, Sarah? Shall we buy it?
Oh, I don't know, John. It just looks like a glass ball to me.
Well, I like it. I like looking at it.
Yes, but $5 for something that may be nothing at all.
Well, why do you say it's nothing when I say I like it?
Well, because $5 is a lot of money. For us, anyway.
You don't have to rub it in.
Oh, I'm sorry, darling. I just meant
I know what you meant.
If you really want it, you can have it for $3.
I do want it. I'll take it.
John.
I said I'll take it.
Hello? Anybody home?
Is that you, Paul?
Yes.
I'll be right down. Hi.
Hello, Sarah.
Well, what's all this?
Oh, my brother sent me a case of fruit from Florida, and I thought you and John might like some.
That's awfully nice of you, Paul.
No, not really. I'd never finish it all by myself.
Well, I still think it's very nice of you. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Where's John?
In the studio.
Oh, how is he?
Oh, about the same. Not very good.
Still not working, huh?
No. He's trying. He goes in there every day.
Well, it's happened to almost every painter at some time or another. You hit a bad period, just can't seem to do anything.
He's been...
Oh, I thought I heard your voice. How are you?
Fine, John. And you?
Okay. Where'd all this fruit come from?
Paul brought it over.
My brother sent me a whole case of it, and I thought you might like some.
Oh, it's very nice of you. I was hoping you'd stop by. There's something I wanted to show you, ask you about.
Oh, what's that?
This glass ball.
Oh, where'd you get it?
In a crummy little antique shop in Preston.
Oh, yes, I know the place.
The guy said it was a paperweight.
Well, it can't be. It doesn't have a base. It isn't even flat on one side.
Well, that's what I thought. What do you think it is, then?
Hey, I have no idea. The only thing I've ever seen that's even vaguely like this are witch balls.
Witch balls?
Yeah, you sometimes find them down in Pennsylvania. They're like hex signs, supposed to keep witches away.
Oh, yes.
It's a very interesting thing. Beautiful piece of glass blowing.
Yes, isn't it? Take it over the light and look at it more closely. There's something inside it. Kind of shadow.
Oh? I don't see anything.
Well, hold it up. Turn it.
Oh, you mean that kind of a swirl?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just an air bubble or maybe an imperfection in the glass.
I don't. I think there's something inside it that the glass was blown around it. Here, give it to me.
Oh, John.
Slipped out of my hands.
Well, it didn't break. Did it crack?
No. Look at that. Dropped on the fireplace and there's not a mark or a scratch on it.
Well, that's impossible.
Well, look at it.
Well, you're right. I've never seen anything like it. It can't be ordinary glass. I'll tell you what, John. I've got a friend who's an expert. Collects paperweights. If you like, I'll take it and show it to you.
No. It's not leaving this house.
John.
Well, I just thought that...
I say it's not leaving this house.
All right, John.
I'm going back inside. I'll see you, Paul.
Yes, John. Well, he really has a thing about it, hasn't he?
Yes.
When did he get it?
Oh, just yesterday. I don't like it.
Why not?
I don't know. I just have a funny feeling about it. I have had from the first time I saw it.
Because you were the only one who could see me.
Yeah.
You've got to help me. Save me.
How?
Break the ball and free me.
Break?
Yes, if you do, you won't be sorry. I'll do things for you. Wonderful things.
But how can I break it? I dropped it, and it didn't even crack.
Fire and water, John. Fire and water.
I don't understand.
You will. I know you will. I know you'll help me.
Just a second. Oh, hello, Paul.
Sarah, can I come in for a few minutes?
Oh, yes, of course. Well, how are you?
A little down at the moment.
Why?
I just got some rather upsetting news. That's why I came over.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Well, what's the news?
Well, it'll affect you and John more than it does anyone else.
Hmm?
You know those rumors that Ezra Tate was going to sell that 200-acre parcel of his to a developer? Well, apparently they're true.
Oh, no. But how do you know?
Well, I was just at the bank and Peterson told me.
Well, that's certainly not good. That Ezra is going to sell. But that doesn't mean that they can go ahead and build there. Well, they'd have to get the approval of the zoning board.
Have you forgotten that Harry Walker, the board chairman, is his nephew?
Yeah, but he wouldn't dare. You mean you think it really may go through?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, but that's awful. You know, we bought this place, put every cent we have into it, mostly because of the location and the view. And if the deal does go through, that will be the end of it.
I know.
And that's not all. But I wouldn't want to go on living here with a development right under our noses. And I don't think anyone else would want to either.
Well, I'm afraid you'd take a bad licking if you tried to sell the place.
Well, don't say anything about it to John until we really do know what's going to happen. He hates Ezra Tate as it is, and when he hears about this...
That's right. He has had a bit of trouble with him, hasn't he?
Oh, from the day we moved in here. First about the boundary line, and then about...
Sarah, you... Oh. Oh. Hello. I didn't know you were here.
I was just passing by, and I thought I'd drop in.
I'm glad you did. As a matter of fact, I was going to call you.
Oh, about what?
You know that glass ball I showed you yesterday?
Yes, of course.
If you wanted to break it, really break it, how'd you go about it?
Well, why on earth would you want to break it? It's a beautiful thing.
Well, yes, it is. But suppose I did want to break it.
I really don't know, John.
Can you think of any way it can be done with fire and water?
Fire and water?
Yes.
Well, I suppose if you put it in a fire and got it very hot, or close to its melting point, and then dropped it into cold water, that might do it.
Of course. Thanks, Paul.
John, wait. You mean you're really going to...
Yes.
Why?
Because I've got to. I got a feeling that if I do break it, can break it...
What?
Never mind. I'll see you, Paul.
Don't look that way, Sarah. I know it doesn't make sense, but after all, there's no harm in it.
I'm not so sure about that.
Why do you say that?
I told you, I had a funny feeling about the thing from the first time I saw it.
Well, if he does break it, destroy it, that will be the end of it.
I wonder. John?
Yes.
Why have you got the door locked?
I didn't realize I had. Hi.
Oh, may I come in?
Of course.
Oh, it's awfully hot in here.
I know, it's the fire.
Oh, yes. Then you're really going to do it?
Yes. I've had the ball on the fire for about a half hour now. I was just about to take it out.
Darling, I don't like this.
I know you don't. What'd I do with the tongs?
Over there.
Oh, yes. Now, stand back. I'm going to take it out.
And drop it in the pail of water?
Yes. Come on now. There we are.
Darling, be careful.
I will. Ready?
Yes.
Here goes. Wow. I really think I did it.
What happened to the ball?
Well, see for yourself. It practically exploded into 100 pieces.
Oh, yes. Well, are you satisfied now?
Yes. Now, wait a minute. Look at this. This is what was inside it. Its center.
Another ball. A small black one.
Yes, but it wasn't black before.
Oh, the heat must have turned it black. Well, what are you going to do with it?
Keep it.
Why?
Just so. Now stop looking so upset, Sarah. Things are going to be different now.
What do you mean?
Well, you'll see. Everything's going to be fine. Better than they've ever been before.
With the help of fire and water, the mysterious glass ball has been broken. And though he should know better, John Farrar seems pleased about it. For there are some things that it is best to leave alone. Was he right in thinking there was something sealed in the ball? Will it give him the things he wants? And if so, at what cost? We'll find out shortly when I return with Act 2. Dusk is a time of uncertainty. And though she could not have said why, Sarah Farrar was not just uncertain, but anxious as she stood beside her husband and saw the glass ball shatter. But now she's beginning to feel that perhaps she was mistaken. For when John woke this morning, he was in better spirits than he has been for months. He went into his studio early and has been in there all day. It's evening now, almost supper time, and he still has not come out.
Yes? Darling, it's almost 6 o'clock, and I wondered if...
It's what?
Almost 6 o'clock.
You're kidding. It can't be.
But it is.
Oh, good Lord. I had no idea. I kept thinking while I had it, I'd stay with it. Keep on going for just a little while longer.
You mean you've been working?
Have I ever?
Oh, can I look?
Of course. It's not quite finished. I want to do a little more with the background, but, what do you think?
Oh, darling, it's good. It's terribly good.
You really think so?
Oh, yes. It's the best thing you've ever done. In some ways, like summer morning, but different, stronger.
You're right. It is something like summer morning, and it is different, but, well, it would have to be, because I'm suddenly seeing everything differently. Feeling differently. As if I'd been handcuffed for months and I was suddenly free.
Oh, darling, I'm so glad.
Oh, 6 o'clock. No wonder I'm starving.
Well, didn't you have any lunch? I went out around noon.
No, I forgot about it. What's for supper?
Oh, beef stew.
Oh, good. And wine?
Well, there's that bottle we were saving for a special occasion.
I think this is it, don't you?
Oh, I certainly do. Oh, darling, why don't you wash up and... Oh, I'll get it. Hello?
Hello, Sarah.
Oh, Paul, hello.
Well, you sound pretty good.
I feel that way. John finally broke through, and he's working. Working beautifully.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Oh, you don't sound so good. Is anything wrong?
I'm afraid so. I just heard that the deal on Ezra Tate's land is definitely going through. The closing's tomorrow.
Oh, no. And there's no way of stopping it?
None that I know of.
Oh, then I guess I'll have to tell John.
Tell me what?
Are you going to do it now?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
So am I, but it can't be helped. Goodbye, Paul.
What was that all about?
Oh, some rather bad news. Darling, you know that talk that Ezra Tate was going to sell the 200 acres across the road to a developer?
Yes?
Well, apparently it's true.
What? It can't be.
I'm afraid it is, John. The closing's tomorrow.
But he can't do anything like that. It'd ruin the town. And not just the town. We couldn't go on living here with a couple of hundred ticky-tacky houses right across the road.
I know. But I'm afraid nothing can be done about it.
No? Well, we'll see about that.
John, where are you going?
To talk to him.
No, John, wait! Don't! Wait!
Ezra Tate.
Who's that? Who's there?
John Farrar.
What do you want?
I want to talk to you.
Well, you can't right now. I'm eating supper.
Oh, damn it all, Ezra. It's important.
Okay, just a second. Now, what is all this?
Is what I heard true? That you're selling the land across the road from us to a developer?
It sure is.
But you can't do that.
Says who? It's my land. I can sell it to anyone I want.
Haven't you any feeling at all for anyone else? Don't you realize what it'll do, not just to me, my place, but the whole town? It can't take another couple of hundred people.
The deal's set, and that's that.
But can't you see? Okay, how much are they offering you for it?
Why do you want to know?
Because I'll buy it from you. I'll give you a couple of thousand over their price.
What? That's really funny.
What's funny about it?
Yeah, it just is. You haven't got a dime. You owe everyone in town money, and you want to buy...
Never mind about that. I'll get it somewhere.
Yeah? Where? From your friend Paul Chandler?
What's it to you where I get it?
Oh, I'd like to know, that's all. Just because he's got a thing about your wife, comes around with fruit and groceries for you, I imagine... You keep away from me, Farrar! You think I'd let you in here without precautions? This gun's loaded. Come any closer and I'll let you have a load of birdshot.
For 2 cents.
2 cents is just about what you can afford. Now you get out of here.
Okay. But this isn't the end of it, Ezra.
Oh, John, thank heaven you're back. I was afraid. Well, what happened?
He laughed at me.
Oh, you should have known he would. He's a dreadful old man.
He's a monster. He doesn't give a damn about anyone or anything. I'd like to see him drop dead.
John!
Well, I would. But just dropping dead would be too good for him. I'd like to have something really terrible happen to him.
Just a second.
Good morning. Mrs. Farrar?
Yes?
My name's Osborne. Sergeant Osborne, State Police.
Oh, how do you do?
Is your husband around?
Yes, he's in his studio.
Could I talk to him for a few minutes?
Well, he's working, but I think so. Come in.
Thank you.
Yes?
John, could you come out here for a minute?
Okay. What's up?
Oh, darling, this is Sergeant Osborne of the State Police.
Oh. Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning, Mr. Farrar. I'm sorry to disturb you, but I wondered if you could help us.
With what, Sergeant?
Were you home last night?
Yes, we were. We're here most nights.
What time did you get to bed?
Fairly early. About 10.
Yes, that's right.
And did you get up for any reason, or did you sleep right through the night?
Well, we slept straight through. At least I did. Why?
I was hoping that maybe you'd gotten up. That you could tell me if you heard or saw anything unusual. A car going up the road to Ezra Tate's place, for instance.
Well, I didn't. Did you, Sarah?
No. We'd had a big day, and I slept like a log.
You know Tate, don't you?
Yeah, we sure do.
I take it you don't like him very much.
Well, that's the understatement of the year. We've had nothing but trouble with him since we moved up here.
Sergeant, what's this all about? Has there been any trouble at his place?
I guess you could call it trouble. He was killed last night.
He was what?
Killed. Murdered. His nephew went over there early this morning and found him.
Oh, but that's awful. I thought he was a dreadful man, but... Have you any idea who did it?
Not yet. That's why I stopped by here to find out if you'd seen or heard anything.
Well, I'm sorry. I wish we could help you, but... Well, how was he killed?
It was pretty bad. Whoever did it must have really hated him or else been out of his mind. Because it was done with an axe.
No, that's not a nice way to kill someone, not at all. And whoever or whatever did it didn't waste very much time. For it was only last night that John Farrar said, "I'd like to see something really terrible happen to him." And what did happen was horrible enough to shock even him. The question is, was it a coincidence, or is there more to it than that? Could it have something to do with the shattering of the glass ball? We'll find out shortly when I return with Act 3. There is a finality to death. Even the death of the unloved and unmourned, that we all find sobering. For it reminds us of our own mortality. It's late afternoon now, and Sarah Farrar is in the kitchen of the old farmhouse when a car drives up, stops outside. She goes to the door, opens it.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Well, I've been better.
I gather you heard the news then.
About Ezra? Yes.
Who'd you hear it from?
The state police. One of them stopped by this morning. He wanted to know whether John or I had heard or seen anything last night.
And had you?
No. We were both pretty tired. John had been working like a maniac all day, and we slept right through.
I see. How's John?
Well, of course he's upset. It's a scary thing when something like that happens so close by, and you don't know who did it or why. But he'll get over it.
I hope so. I've been worried about him.
Why?
Well, he certainly wasn't in very good shape the other day. That whole involvement of his with that glass ball.
Oh, that. I was pretty worried about that myself, but, well, once he broke it and snapped his painting block, it started working.
Well, he really feels there was some connection there.
Apparently.
Well, as long as he's working. I take it he still is.
Oh, yes. Yes, he finished one painting. He's already started on another.
Oh, good. The reason I stopped by was because I wanted to find out if the two of you were free Friday night.
Oh, yes, we are.
Then would you come over for dinner? Benson of the Benson Gallery is coming up from New York. And if John is working again, I thought he ought to meet him.
Oh, Paul. You really are a very good friend.
Oh, come on, Sarah. Now, you know how I feel about you. Both of you. You've had a pretty rough time since you moved up here, and if I've done anything to help...
Oh, Paul, hello.
Hi.
I didn't hear your car. You been here long?
No, just a few minutes.
Oh, Paul stopped by to invite us over for dinner Friday night. Benson of the Benson Gallery is going to be there.
Oh, that's nice. What do you think of our big local news?
Ezra Tate's death? That's pretty shocking.
Yes, it is. On the other hand, it did take care of a pretty serious problem for us.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, now that he's gone, that's the end of that housing development.
I'm afraid it isn't, John.
Well, why not?
His nephew is his only living relative. He'll inherit everything Ezra had, including his land, and he's already telling people he intends to go through with the deal.
What? Well, he can't do that. He's head of the town zoning board.
Yes, he is, but he was willing to push the thing through when it meant money in his uncle's pocket. Don't you think he'll be even more anxious to do it when it means money in his own?
But that's even worse.
Well, a little more direct and obvious, but no worse.
And nothing can be done about it?
I'm afraid not. The zoning board is his baby. Does just what he says.
Wow. It would serve him right if the same thing happened to him that happened to Ezra.
John, that's a terrible thing to say.
Is it? I don't like violence any more than you do, Sarah, but when a man is willing to destroy a whole community out of sheer greed, I say the world's better off without him.
John? Oh, you are in here.
Oh, yes, of course I am. Why?
Well, I couldn't imagine what had happened to you. You said you were going into work for just a half hour or
That's
so.
right. What time is it?
Almost 11.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
I must have fallen asleep again. I worked for a while and started feeling tired and sat down here.
Well, you've really been at it these last few days.
I guess I have.
John, why are you keeping this thing here?
What thing?
This black thing that was in the center of the glass bowl.
I told you I was going to keep it.
But why?
Because I like it. I like looking at it.
What? Was that what you were doing before you fell asleep?
Yes.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't. I wish you'd get rid of it.
Oh, don't be silly, Sarah. The day I found the ball, or rather the day I broke it open, was one of the most important days of my life. Hasn't everything been different since then?
Well, if you mean you've been working well, yes, but I...
But what?
Oh, never mind. Are you coming up to bed now?
I guess so. Just let me clean my brushes and put them away. Oh, who on earth is that?
I have no idea. I'll get it. Hello?
Hello, Sarah. Did I wake you?
No, Paul. I was upstairs reading. I just came down to see what was keeping John.
Is he there with you?
Oh, he's in the studio. Why?
Well, I wasn't sure whether I should call or not, but I finally decided I would. Sarah, I've got some more news that's just as shocking as the last. Harry Walker was killed tonight.
What? Where? And how?
In his home. His wife was out, came back, and found him dead in the kitchen.
Oh, no. And they don't know who did it?
Not any more than they do who killed Ezra.
Hi.
Oh, good morning, darling. I couldn't decide whether to wake you or let you sleep.
Oh, I haven't been asleep for some time. I'm just lying there thinking.
I know, but I thought you might doze off. You didn't sleep much last night.
No.
Well, how about some breakfast?
I don't want any.
John, you should eat something.
I can't. I feel awful.
Because of what you said when Paul was here about how Harry Walker deserved to die too?
Partly.
Well, you shouldn't. All right, it was a horrible thing to say, but you were angry, upset.
Yes, I was, but don't you realize that the same thing happened before with Ezra? I said I hoped something terrible would happen to him, and it did.
Yes, it did, but we often say things we don't really mean.
But I did mean it. I meant it both times. That's what makes it so frightening.
Why frightening? Look, you don't think that just saying it had anything to do with their deaths, do you?
Yes, I do.
John!
Well, I do. Do you remember what I told you about the glass ball?
That there was something in it?
Yes. What if there was? And what if, when I released it, it began doing things for me in return?
Oh, John, that's ridiculous. It was just a glass ball.
Was it? I told you that I had to break it, that it was very important. And it was right after I did that I started working again.
Yeah, but that could have happened anyway.
Maybe. But then twice after that, when I said I hoped something would happen to someone, it did.
That was just a coincidence.
When the same thing happens twice in the same way, it's not a coincidence. But that's not the worst of it. What if the same thing happens still again?
Oh, John. And that's insane. Things don't happen just because we want them to. There's no connection between what happened to either Ezra or Harry Walker. And even if there were, how could the same thing happen again? You don't feel the same way about anyone else.
Don't I?
Who?
You've no idea?
No. We don't know that many people up here. You don't mean Paul?
Yes. Good old Paul, who's always doing things for us. Only it hasn't been for us. It's been for you. He's in love with you, isn't he?
Oh, John, this is terrible. I've been concerned about you, worried about you for some time, but I never realized. You really are sick.
Are you saying it's not true?
Of course it's not true. He's just a friend, a good friend.
I wish I could believe you.
Meaning you don't?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
But there's nothing to think about. I tell you, John, where are you going?
Out.
John, wait a minute. You can't. John!
Hello?
Oh, Paul, it's me again. Any sign of him?
No, Sarah.
But it's been over 2 hours.
Well, you said he didn't take the car. If he walked, it would take him some time to get over here.
Not this long, Paul. I'm scared. I told you what he said.
I know, but I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. The longer he has to think about, the more chance there is that he'll realize it's ridiculous.
But suppose it's just the opposite. Suppose
Now, don't do that, Sarah. I'm not worried. I hope he does come here. I told you there's something I want to tell him.
What?
I don't want to go into it now, but I think it may make a difference. Help him.
All right. But if he does come to your place, will you call me? Let me know.
Of course, Sarah.
Thank you, Paul.
A friend, she said. Just a good friend. Can I believe her? He's been there all the time, whenever we needed him. No, not just when we needed him. Whenever he could do anything to help. Why? There's only one way to find out.
Hello, John. I've been expecting you.
Have you?
Yes, Sarah called. Twice, as a matter of fact. And said you might be coming over here. Come on in.
Thanks.
Can I get you something? Some coffee or a drink?
No.
Well, sit down. There's something I want to tell you.
About you and Sarah?
What? What could I tell you about that?
How you feel about her?
I feel the same way about her that I do about you. I like you both very much. What I wanted to talk to you about was that glass ball.
What about it?
Well, I'm afraid I was the one who got you started on it, saying it was something like a Pennsylvania Dutch witch ball. Well, I was wrong. There was nothing strange or mysterious about it. It wasn't even old. It was made 7 or 8 years ago by the New England Glass Company.
That's impossible. How do you know that?
Because I called a friend of mine, the man I wanted to show it to, and he told me. The company was trying to develop a new kind of glass, practically unbreakable and impervious to heat. They did it by bonding 2 kinds of glass together, and the ball was one of their samples.
That's not true. It's a lie. You don't just want to take Sarah away from me. You want to take that away, too. The feeling that breaking it just gave me, the freedom, the sense of power. When you're not going to.
John, put down that poker.
No.
John, put it down. I'm not finished yet. I'm not denying that something happened to you after you bought it, but I think I can explain that, too. Now, look, when you brought it home, you used to sit and stare into it, didn't you?
Yes.
Well, don't you see what could have happened? When you stare into something clear or shiny, you can hypnotize yourself. But in your case, the self-hypnosis took a special form. You started identifying with it. And when you finally broke it, you released something. Not in the ball, but in yourself.
Released what? Lies? Everything you've been saying has been a lie?
It hasn't, John. It's been the truth, John. Keep away from me.
No, I came over here to find something out, and I have. You're no friend of mine. You never were.
John.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Well, don't open the door.
John, now stop that. Whoever it is must know we're here. I've got to.
Lord, I'm warning you.
Mr. Chandler?
Yes?
I'm Osborne, State Police. Is Mr. Farrar... Oh, yes, I see he is. Good morning, Mr. Farrar. Your wife said she thought you might be here.
My wife?
Yes, we stopped by at your place first. Mr. Farrar, would you come with me?
Where?
To headquarters. We'd like to talk to you.
About what?
Several things, but mostly about where you were last night, about 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock? But that was...
That was what?
About when Harry Walker was murdered.
How do you know that?
Because Paul called us shortly after that and told us. You're all against me. Not just my wife and Paul, but everyone. Plotting against me.
No one's against you, Mr. Farrar, and we're certainly not plotting against you. We just want to talk to you and...
No!
Farrar, stop! Come back here, Farrar!
Aren't you going after him?
Oh, we'll catch up to him. I have another car and 2 more men out on the road there, just around the curve.
Why did you want to talk to him?
Well, someone saw him leaving Harry Walker's house last night, shortly before Mrs. Walker came home.
Oh.
We just got a general description. Weren't sure who it was at first, but... Farrar, look out! That truck!
John! Oh, good Lord.
find. John Farrar came to his friend's house seeking what? The truth, he tried to tell himself. But the truth was exactly what he did not want to hear. Not when it stripped away his illusions and did not confirm his jealous imaginings. And so he found what we find so often when we reject the truth and everything else of value. Death. I'll be back shortly. Now we see through a glass darkly, says the Bible. That was what John Farrar was doing, seeing something in the strange glass ball that wasn't there. But he wasn't completely wrong. At least it wasn't all imaginary. For as his friend Paul said, there was a thing inside. Not inside the glass ball, but inside John himself, that never should have been tampered with. Our cast included Ralph Bell, Bryna Rayburn, Bob Caliban, and Leon Janney. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall, bringing you, hopefully, an enjoyable shudder. Certainly, fans of the occult like the dark and dangerous tales we spin because of the vicarious enjoyment that comes from the delicious shivers of the supernatural. But let me issue a warning to all you ghost lovers. Do not, I repeat, do not ever make the mistake of thinking that ghosts are fun. Mrs. Mary Boyne and her husband did, and this tale tells what happened to them. Our mystery drama, Afterward, was adapted from the Edith Wharton classic, especially for the Mystery Theater, by Murray Burnett, and stars Celeste Holm. Remember the phrase, Kilroy was here, so popular back in the days of World War II? I feel certain most of you remember, but if we go back a few years farther, how many of you recall the phrase, the little man who wasn't there? What do all these phrases have to do with our tale? Well, stretching a point, we might say that our story concerns the ghost that wasn't there, or at least not when you expected him. If this sounds confusing, let's listen to the lady whose story it is.
My name is Mary Boyne. My address is Suite 357 in a Wood, Dorsetshire, England. Of course, I'm American. And alone, and sane. The reason I mention sanity is because they call this place a rest home, but actually it's a place for people who have money and who are supposed to be not quite right in the head. I told you I'm sane, but I must confess it's difficult to understand how I managed to retain my sanity after what happened. But you be the judge and jury. I'll start at the beginning, back in America, in a little town of Waukesha, and the little house where I lived happily with Ned. Ned, you're home early.
You bet. I'm not only home early, darling, but I'm home for good. I've sold the Blue Star Mine for $5 million.
Oh.
Mary, my love, are you all right?
Oh, yes, just fine, darling, but you're joking.
Never more serious. We're finished with drudgery, darling. Finished living in this house, in this town, and don't even bother to pack. Let's just make our dream come true today.
I know that Americans are often impulsive, generous, and even, forgive me, sometimes a trifle foolish, but I must say, Mr. and Mrs. Boyne, you are something new in my experience as a realtor.
Well, is that a nice English way of saying you don't have a suitable house for us?
Not at all, Mr. Boyne.
Oh, please forgive my husband, Mrs. Stair, but our search for a house in England is the answer to what both he and I have always considered an impossible dream. You see, I was born in England, and I went to America as a child, and I've always wanted to return, and now we can.
Is it so strange that we want a house we ourselves can remodel and modernize?
No, that's understandable. But to be so far from any means of transportation.
Perhaps I should say that Ned and I are really looking for two things: to get away from our old lifestyle in America and to find our roots.
Yes, I have a house that seems to be made to order for your specifications. It's been on the market for years because it needs so much remodeling, and it's 14 miles from the nearest rail station.
Great.
Let me finish. It was built in the time of the Tudors. Needs a tremendous amount of modernization, particularly in the matter of heating and hot water.
Sounds super to me. But how about a ghost, Mrs. Stair?
Oh, Dorsetshire's full of ghosts.
That's nice. But I did so want one of my own, right on the premises.
Mrs. Boyne, you shouldn't ask for anything like that. There is a traditional ghost that goes along with the house. A particularly nasty ghost. Also a rather strange one.
Strange? How so?
Because the history of the ghost of your house at Ling is that no one knows that they've seen the ghost until long afterward.
Well, that's crazy.
What in the world makes a ghost, except for the fact that you know when you see it? It either moans or wears white shrouds or touches you with icy fingers.
Now, the only thing I can tell you is that there are stories about the ghost of Ling, and every single one of them is identical. The person who sees the ghost doesn't know it's a ghost until afterward.
Oh, forget it, Mary. No. Life is too short to enjoy a ghost. You've got to wait to find out if it's a real ghost or not. No, but this house at Ling seems to have so much else going for it. Darling, I think we really should take a look at it.
We went, we looked, and we were conquered. Both Ned and I fell instantly in love with Ling. It was a lovely old Tudor house, just as the agent had described it. Exactly what we'd both dreamed of, and it was definitely secluded. We bought it and moved in. But although I was in seventh heaven and up to my ears in planning for remodeling the old house, there was something definitely wrong with Ned.
Oh, these powders don't do a thing for my headaches.
Well, the doctor said...
I know what the doctor said, darling, and I followed his prescription, but I still have the headaches.
Darling, do you think perhaps we've made a mistake about this house?
No, Ling is perfect. Perfect. We both knew it the moment we saw it. The gardens are a delight, and under your tender, loving care, grow more beautiful every day.
Oh, with Hilton's great help.
Nonsense. No, Hilton is a good gardener, darling, but he hasn't your green thumb. No, my love. The house is perfect, and there's absolutely nothing wrong. These headaches will go away in time.
So you're not going to tell me?
Dear heart, there is nothing to tell.
But I knew better. Something was very wrong, and I intended to find out what it was. Lydia Westlake was the village librarian and had been ever since the oldest inhabitant could remember.
Well, Mrs. Boyne, what a pleasure. Is there anything I can do for you?
Miss Westlake, I really must apologize for not coming to see you in this lovely old library before.
Oh, my dear, no apologies necessary.
everyone in town knows how busy you've been patching up Ling.
Well, that's one reason I'm here. To ask if you have any books about the history of Ling.
Ah, you mean about the architecture?
Not exactly. Everything. Maybe even something about the ghost.
Well, I really shouldn't say this, but it's best for everyone to try to forget about the Ling ghost. Oh, believe me.
Oh, I believe you, Miss Westlake, but I'm still interested in everything about Ling.
Well, very well. You'll find some books on the history of Ling under G226.
There were 3 books. I took them all and went back to Ling and started to read. 2 incidents mentioned the Ling ghost, and they were absolutely horrifying. What I hadn't told the librarian was that I wanted to find out more about the ghost because of the way Ned was acting.
Who the devil is it?
Well, it's me, darling.
I'm sorry, Mary. It's just that I'm sorry.
Have the servants been interrupting you?
No. Oh, gosh, we've never kept secrets from each other. It's my consultation work with the Blue Star Mine back in the States.
But why in the world should that be so disturbing?
Well, there were some problems I hadn't expected.
But I've never seen you like this. Is there any chance we'll have to go back to America?
No. It's nothing like that. It's just that there's a troublemaker who's after me. Darling, tell me how you're coming with the house and your research on the ghost.
I don't want to hear anything more about that ghost.
Well, why this sudden about-face?
I just don't, that's all. Let's make a pact. You stop worrying, and I'll stop talking about the ghost. The pact didn't work. Oh, how I wish it had. Perhaps things would not have turned out the way they did. If we had left Ling, and I had listened to my presentiment about the Ling ghost, Ned grew more irritable, and I ever more frightened.
What's the matter with those fools back in Waukesha? They can't handle the simplest matters without asking me a million questions.
Ned, why don't you give up the consulting job? We don't really need it. I mean, do we?
No, not the money, but in a way we do need it.
I don't understand.
Well, it's a complicated business, Mary, involving lawyers and a lot of legal matters that would only bore you.
Bore me? I'd rather be bored or sad or anything. If only I could see you more relaxed.
Well, you will, darling. It'll just take a little time.
Time for what?
Well, I have problems with the Blue Star. So, look, why don't you bring me up to date on your ghost, huh?
Oh, Ned, because I'm frightened. I read a story in one of those books I took from the library about the young wife of the son of the man who built Ling.
Uh-huh. And what about it?
Well, it seems she had fallen madly in love with one of the men here before she met the Ling's son. And, oh, Ned, must I?
Well, please, darling. It can't be all that shocking now in this day and age.
Well, she disposed of an unwanted child and kept it a secret.
Oh?
Some years later, after she was happily married and had a little girl of her own, she was out strolling through these gardens one day when she met an absolutely enchanting young girl, just about her daughter's age. They all hit it off very well, and soon the 3 became friends. The only thing was that they couldn't ever figure out where this enchanting child lived or who were her parents. And this began to worry the young mistress of Ling, until one day her daughter disappeared and was never found or seen again.
Well, I don't understand.
Don't you? The mother did. She had seen the ghost of Ling, her daughter's little friend. The ghost was the illegitimate child she'd killed. Only she didn't know till afterward.
I'm sorry, Mary, for making you tell me that story.
It's all right. There's more in those old books. There's something about a secret staircase.
Oh?
I should be able to locate it. You get a marvelous bird's eye view of the entire country.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Why don't you help me search for it?
Can't. I have to work on my correspondence, but if and when you find it, give me a shout. I'll be in the library.
I set off on another exploration of Ling, but this time with a purpose. And finally,
just like a heroine in some Gothic novel. I pressed a panel of the old wainscoting in one of the rooms, and it slid back, revealing a small circular flight of stairs leading upward. I climbed the tiny corkscrew staircase to the roof of Ling. Oh, the book hadn't exaggerated the beauty of the view. I called excitedly down the stairs, Ned! Ned! I found it, and it's beautiful. Come up here and see.
Wow. Oh, darling, this is really something. Why, you can see for miles. How did you find it?
Just followed the directions in the book. Went around pressing the paneling, and suddenly there it was, the staircase. Just look. Of course, I know you can see farther than I can.
Oh, but darling, your eyes are more beautiful. Hello. Who's that?
Who? Where?
Well, can't you see that man coming towards the house? I've got to go down, see who it is.
Ned! Ned! Wait for me! There you are, darling. I've been looking all over for you.
Oh, I've been right here in the library.
Oh, you dashed off that roof and went running out the front door. Who was it?
Who was what?
The man you saw coming toward you in the garden.
Oh, that man. Well, you see, dear, I thought I saw the gardener, and I ran after him to tell him about some of the drains which need tending. But, you see, he'd disappeared before I reached him.
Disappeared?
Mm-hmm.
But he seemed to be walking so slowly and toward the house, not away from it.
Well, that's the way it seemed to me, too. But, I guess, we must have been wrong. Unless it could have been, the ghost.
Now, we all know there are no such things as ghosts, or at least some of us know. But one thing we would all agree upon is that if there really are ghosts, they won't go away even if you don't mention them. Institutions for the mentally ill have come a long way. They are quite beautiful and often look like an ideal retirement home, even on the inside where everyone wears a smile. It takes an expert to be able to see some of the anguish that lies behind the smile, like the pain that continually racks Mary Boyne.
None of the staff nor the guests at Innerwood Rest Home can understand why I hate to hear the sound of the postman's whistle when he comes with the mail. They think it's because I have no one who cares enough to write to me. Well, it's true that I have no one, but the reason I dread the postman's whistle is because if it weren't for the postman and the mail and... There I am, confusing you again. But it all relates to one arrival of the mail at Ling.
Oh, this is from old Joe Sitwell asking how we are, and this one's for you.
I'm so glad there are no letters to disturb you. What's this?
Let me see.
It's a newspaper clipping. Front page article from the Waukesha Sentinel.
Oh?
It says that a man named Elwell has brought a lawsuit against you. That there was something wrong about the Blue Star mine. I haven't read it all, but...
Darling, you wouldn't understand more than half of it, even if you finished.
Well, maybe not. But now I understand what it is that's been bothering
you.
No,
it's really nothing, darling.
Nothing? On the front page of the Sentinel? Ned, what's this all about?
Oh, now why don't we have some tea first?
This lawsuit isn't new to you.
No, of course not. I've known about it for some time.
Of course you have, and you've been having sleepless nights and headaches for some time. What does this man accuse you of?
Oh, pretty nearly everything he could dream up.
Why? Why would a man do that?
Oh, because he figures he can make some money.
But surely he must have some reason. There must be something he thinks you've done.
All right, darling, I'll tell you the whole story. Mary, dear, you must know that whenever a fortune is made overnight, there are always some envious people who believe they deserve a share of the windfall, and that's exactly what Elwell thinks.
Who is Elwell? I don't know that name.
Well, he's a man I put into the Blue Star. He made some money, and now he wants more.
How did you put him into it?
Well, he brought me the samples to be assayed, and, well, I told you about it at the time, but I didn't make a big deal out of it in case they proved to be worthless.
I think But if everything is the way you say, and you paid him...
Well, of course I paid him.
Well, then why does he sue you now?
Oh, well, probably because some lawyer got hold of him and talked him into it, hoping for a fat fee. Or maybe he thought I'd get scared. Now, Bob Elwell ought to have known me better than that.
I certainly agreed with that. Anyone did business with Ned would know he wasn't the sort to be frightened of anything. But there was no question that he was worried. And I was hardly surprised when he turned to me one night and said...
Darling, have you any idea how long it's supposed to be before you know whether or not you've seen the Ling ghost?
Why, no. None. Have you?
No. No, of course not.
It's rather an odd question to ask me, darling, unless you think you have seen the ghost.
Well, I really don't know why I asked the question. It just popped into my head, and so I asked it.
I know your engineer's mind, Ned. And I know how it worries and worries about a problem until you've solved it. Now, I want you to tell me something on your solemn word of honor. Promise.
Okay, my word of honor.
That you believe you have seen the Ling ghost, and that you're trying to keep it from me, and that's what's worrying you?
Cross my heart, darling. I don't think I've seen the Ling ghost. At least, not to my knowledge, because according to the ancient tradition, one really doesn't know when he's seen the ghost.
And with that, I had to be satisfied. I knew my husband. There was no more to be gained from questioning him. But I thought to myself, maybe there was something to be gained from questioning the ghost. That is, if I could manage to locate the elusive spirit. Of course, I knew that you weren't supposed to be able to know you'd seen the ghost, but I was haunted by the idea of the disappearing figure we'd seen from the rooftop. So once again, I climbed the small secret stairway and stood on the roof ledge. I cupped my hands and shouted to the sky, "Oh, spirit, specter, shadow, whatever you choose to call yourself, we've done you no harm. We want to live here in peace. Oh, ghost of Ling, break with the past, break with tradition, and show yourself to me."
Mary, what on earth do you think you're doing?
That's obvious, isn't it, darling?
Well, if you mean you're making a darn fool of yourself, and incidentally of me, yes.
Well, I'm sorry if I was stupid.
It isn't stupidity, Mary. It's just this obsession of yours with a ghost. You're only adding to my worries.
I don't want that. You know I don't want that.
Well, then maybe we should leave Ling.
Oh, but I love this house, and so do you.
Well, but I think there's something else we have to do, and let's get right on with it.
Ned was just trying to help me, like the staff here at Innerwood. And he thought maybe by arranging a seance with a reputable and respected medium might put my mind at rest. Ned thought that perhaps the medium might be able to get through and reach the ghost.
Now, you both understand that as a man of integrity, I can promise you nothing?
Yes, Mr. Woods, you've already made that very clear.
It is difficult to overemphasize the possibility of failure.
Can we start, please?
Please be patient, Mrs. Boyne. All the research I have done on the ghost of Ling seems to bear out the tradition. He or she appears, and only afterwards do the people realize they have made contact with the ghost.
Yes, we know all that, but isn't it also true that there's never been an attempt to reach this ghost through a reputable medium?
That is so.
Well, that's why we came to you. I want to find out if there is a ghost of Ling, and if there is, you should be able to reach him.
I should, but as I said...
Please, let's not go through all that again. Let's hope you will succeed.
Right. Now, this is our first seance.
Well, I'm afraid it is very much like what you have read in books and heard about. We will keep this room dimly candlelit, just as it is now. And so, I ask you to join hands with me. That is it. Now, close your eyes and concentrate.
On what?
On the ghost.
But I want...
Just think of the ghost, Mrs. Boyne. if there is any communication, it must come through me.
Is that all? Is it over now?
It is over, yes.
Well, you said you might fail.
I did not fail.
But we didn't see or hear a thing. Did you, Ned?
Oh, nothing.
I pierced the veil. I reached my control.
Well, then what?
You said you thought I was an expert. And I believe I convinced you that I am not a fake.
Well, okay, but if you reach...
Let me assure you that there is no spirit, no ghost, happy or unhappy, inhabiting these premises at Ling.
Ned, tell me, did you believe Mr. Woods?
Well, darling, he's supposed to be the best, and he said there definitely wasn't any ghost at Ling.
Hey, something's happened to you.
What?
It's happened since the seance.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're different.
Oh, come on, Mary.
Maybe something did happen at that seance.
What?
I mean, those drawn lines in your face have disappeared. Smiles come back into your eyes. You slept better last night. Come on, admit it.
All right, I admit that, but it has nothing to do with the seance.
Well, then what caused the change?
Well, perhaps it was a cable I received yesterday saying that I could probably expect some very good news about that Elwell suit very shortly.
Then it was the lawsuit that bothered you after all.
Well, yes, perhaps more than I knew. Well, at any rate, we'll find out with tomorrow's mail.
Has the mail come yet?
No, not yet, darling. Anyway, I thought you were going to be all taken up with that engineer from Dorsetshire who's going to show us how to install a hot water system.
Well, I'm looking forward to his visit, but I remember what you said about the mail.
Oh, there's the postman now, dear. Here, let me beat you to it, Mary.
We'll go together.
All right. Ah, here we are. Oh, airmail special from Waukesha.
What does it say? Open it.
All right. Ah. Good news, darling.
You mean you've won? You've won the lawsuit?
Oh, the suit's been withdrawn, so there's nothing to worry about.
Then everything's all right.
Oh, couldn't be righter. Now, how about giving me a kiss, and you go wait for that engineer.
One of the strangest things I remember was my total sense of security as Ned held me in his arms. I left Ned and walked out into the gardens. Oh, the day was beautiful. It seemed even brighter than it actually was because of the change in Ned. As I walked along the flagstones, I heard footsteps behind me. I stopped and turned.
I came to see Mr. Boyne.
I'm Mrs. Boyne. Do you have an appointment with my husband?
I think he expects me.
Well, he's working on a book, so he never sees anyone in the morning.
Oh.
Wait. You seem tired. Have you come a long way?
Yes, I have come a long way.
Well, then I suppose if you'll go to the house, my husband will see you. You'll find him in the library. It's that way. I watched the stranger enter the house, and then I went to find the gardener, and soon the engineer arrived. And the morning just sped by. We'd finished with the plans for the hot water system, and it was time for lunch. I went to the dining room, but Ned wasn't at the table. Nor was he in the library. I remember calling, and then asking the servants whether they'd seen him. But Ned was nowhere to be found. Not at the luncheon, not in the garden, not in the house. He didn't come back that afternoon, nor was he there for dinner. By that time, I was frantic and called the police. The local police shook their heads and called in Scotland Yard.
Well, now, Mrs. Bourne, I can only try to reassure you by telling you that we haven't found your husband's body.
Well, that's very reassuring, Inspector. You're telling me my husband has just disappeared into thin air, vanished without a trace?
Oh, no, ma'am. What I'm trying to say is that if there was any foul play, and in these cases sometimes there is, we usually find the body of the dead man within 48 hours. So perhaps I was clumsy, but I was trying to tell you that there is hope that Mr. Boyne is alive.
Well, then where is he?
Oh, of course, I can't answer that question for you at this time. But I promise you, Mrs. Boyne, all the resources of Scotland Yard will be employed to find him for you.
Oh. I must admit the inspector kept his word and also kept my hopes alive. The yard kept me up to date on every development. But alas, they were so pitifully few, they did nothing to nourish my hope that my darling Ned would soon come back to me.
All the resources of Scotland Yard, will they prove to be as ineffective as all the king's men and all the king's horses in putting Humpty Dumpty together again? Or will they come up with some strange and sinister solution to the disappearance of Ned Boyne? I'll be back with the answers shortly. The disappearance of husbands is usually regarded by most police as a mystery with fairly obvious solutions. Most commonly, the police look for the runaway mate who's been unable to cope with a nagging wife, or secondarily, a woman who has decided to strike out looking for a new mate by disposing of the old one. Of course, neither of these theories was even entertained for a moment by Scotland Yard in the case of the disappearance of Ned Boyne.
Now, Mrs. Boyne, we all know what a good marriage you and Mr. Boyne had, but we're momentarily at a loss.
A man just doesn't vanish off the face of the earth.
Not without leaving clues. Something that will help us find him. Now, if you don't mind, we'll just go back once more over the way you found out he was gone.
I spent most of the morning with a Mr. Loomis, an engineer from Dorsetshire, going over some plans he had for installing a hot water system.
If you don't mind, I'd like to get to the stranger who asked for your husband.
Well, I've told you everything I know about him.
And told it well, Ma'am. A good description. Much better than we got from Nellie, the housemaid.
She saw him too?
Oh, yes, indeed. We even found out that he wrote his name on a card he gave her.
Well, then you should know.
If I may, Ma'am, let me just condense the maid's testimony from my notes here. Now, she said that the gentleman was a stranger and perhaps a foreigner. He asked for Mr. Boyne, and she asked who was calling, and then he wrote his name on a piece of paper and asked her to carry it in to your husband.
Well, didn't you ask her what Ned, my husband, said when she brought him the paper?
Well, Nellie told us your husband didn't have time to say anything, because just as she handed the paper to Mr. Boyne, she realized that the stranger had followed her into the library. She left them together.
If Nellie says that she left this stranger alone in the library with my husband, how can we be so sure that Ned left the house?
It isn't the maid's evidence we're going by, Mum. Hilton, the gardener, swears he saw your husband leave the house by the front door, accompanied by a gentleman. And he gives a description which pretty much tallies with yours and Nellie's.
But why? Why would Ned just go off like that without a word to me or to anyone?
You've already said your husband has been worried. So if you could give us some clue as to what it was that was bothering him.
Well, I've told you about that lawsuit back in America.
But you didn't tell us about the seance and your attempts to locate the Ling ghost.
Now, surely, Inspector, you're not going to tell me that Scotland Yard is taking ghost stories seriously.
Oh, no, Ma'am. But if Mr. Boyne did, it might be some explanation of his erratic behavior.
Are you telling me that you think my husband was mentally ill?
Well, now, Mum, we need something to explain a happily married, wealthy man walking off in the middle of the morning, accompanied by a stranger, and so far leaving no trace.
But what about that unfinished letter you found in the library?
It obviously had to do with that business in America, which you, Mum, assured us wasn't bothering your husband one bit.
But he did write the word safer, didn't he? Who was Parvis?
Now we've checked, and Mr. Parvis is a perfectly respectable attorney back in Waukesha. And your husband's unfinished letter simply reads, "My dear Parvis, I have just received your letter announcing Elwell's death, and while I suppose there is now no farther risk of trouble, it might be safer..."
There. He says trouble, doesn't he?
Oh, he does indeed. And you believe that trouble could be so serious as to make him disappear without a word to you about it? Or the reason for leaving? Oh, no, we just can't believe that, Mrs. Boyne.
Then what do you believe? I mean, what has happened?
Mrs. Boyne, Has your husband ever suffered from amnesia?
Never.
Does he have any medical history you could tell us about?
Ned was always healthy.
Well, England is a hard place to get lost in, Mom. It's almost impossible for two men to slip unnoticed through or out of the country.
How about just walking?
Mrs. Boyne, we have every official means of investigation working, and we've found nothing.
And so things remained at a stalemate for the next fortnight, despite the fact that my husband's name was headlined in every newspaper and his likeness looked down into my anguished eyes from the walls of every town and village. There was still not one single word of him, and no trace of his movements. And then one morning, Nellie brought a card to me in the library with the name Edward Parvis on it, and a new hope flooded my heart.
Mrs. Boyne?
Mr. Parvis, from Waukesha. You're the attorney my husband wrote to.
Yes, I found myself here in England, and I thought I should visit you.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. You heard, of course, of my husband's disappearance, and I'm hoping that you've come to shed some light on it.
Well, I'm afraid you're in for a disappointment. My errand is of quite a different nature.
But his last unfinished letter was to you. I mean, surely...
Mrs. Boyne, is it possible you're unaware of what went on back at Waukesha?
Oh, my husband and I were very close. We had no secrets from each other.
Well, I'm wondering what you mean to do about Bob Elwell's family.
Bob Elwell's family? I'm completely confused. I don't know them. Mr. Parvis, you must bear with me. I do need your help.
And I'm almost beginning to believe you.
Well,
first of all, Bob Elwell is dead. His wife's a proud woman, and she fought on as long as she could. It's come out now how badly off the family is, and we're taking up a fund for her.
Elwell. Wait. That was the man Ned told me had helped him with the Blue Star.
That's what he told you, is it?
Well, it's true, isn't it?
Well, it's true, and yet well, all I can say is that it was business.
I don't understand at all.
Bob Elwell just wasn't smart enough, let's put it that way. It's the kind of thing that happens every day in business.
Mr. Parvis, I think you're trying to tell me nicely that my husband did something dishonorable.
I don't want you getting the wrong idea about Ned. He committed no crime.
What exactly did he do?
He went into business with Bob Elwell, and Bob should have been more careful about what he signed.
Why don't you come right out and say that Bob Elwell should never have trusted Ned?
Well, it was Elwell's claim that he came to Ned with the first samples from the Blue Star. You see, the Blue Star had been started and then abandoned. And Elwell believed there was a chance the previous owners had quit too soon.
But he came to my husband with this sample.
That's right. And your husband assayed. They both wanted to keep the whole thing quiet, because if there was any chance the Blue Star was still worth something, well, I don't have to tell you what that would have meant.
And Ned decided that the Blue Star was still a gold mine.
Right. Your husband and Elwell had to buy the Blue Star.
They bought it together?
They did. Elwell borrowed most of the money he put up to purchase the mine.
Well, so far that all seems pretty straightforward.
Uh-huh. Ned had the papers drawn up, and Elwell, well, he should have read them more carefully.
Why? What did the papers say?
That after Elwell had been paid back for the money he'd invested and received a profit of 5%, the entire ownership of the Blue Star reverted to Ned.
Oh, no.
Well, it was business, Mrs. Boyne. Elwell didn't have to sign it.
Well, evidently his lawyers felt that there was some merit to his claim when he sued Ned recently.
Well, they soon found out they didn't have a leg to stand on.
But if Elwell was so badly off, where did he find the money to hire lawyers?
A lot of people thought Elwell had been treated badly, and his lawyer was one of them.
You mean they took the case for nothing?
On a contingency basis. But when they saw they didn't have a case, they advised Elwell to withdraw the suit. Elwell became despondent and shot himself.
Shot himself? He killed himself because of that?
Well, he didn't kill himself exactly. He dragged on 2 months before he died.
And he tried to kill himself and failed? And then tried again?
No, he didn't have to try again. Well, the newspapers got hold of it, and it's all been raked up again, and this collection thing's been started. You know, most of us back in Waukesha like Bob Elwell. Here's an account of the whole thing from the Sentinel. Maybe it would help you if you looked it over.
From the headline, it would seem the Sentinel knows who's to blame. Widow of Ned Boyne's victim forced to appeal for aid.
And I thought maybe you might care to...
This picture! This picture! It says this is Robert Elwell.
Yes, it is.
But this is the man who came for my husband. I mean, I'd know him anywhere.
Mrs. Boyne, I don't think you're very well. Shall I call somebody?
No, this is Robert Elwell. This is the man who spoke to me in the garden.
That can't be the man. It's Robert Elwell.
It was Robert Elwell who came for him.
Came for Ned? Elwell was dead. You know that now, don't you?
Robert Elwell came for him.
Now, Mrs. Boyne, well, surely you remember your husband's unfinished letter to me. It was written after he'd heard of Elwell's death.
Robert Elwell was the man who spoke to me.
That's impossible.
I think I'm mad. I'm not. I'm quite sane. Will you answer me one question, please? When did Robert Elwell try to kill himself?
When?
Yes, the date. Please try to remember.
I don't think we should continue this conversation, Mrs. Boyne.
I have a reason for asking.
I'm sure you have, but... Well, I really can't remember. I'd guess about 2 months before he actually died.
I need the exact date.
We might find it in the paper here. Yes, here it is. Last October.
The 20th, wasn't it?
Yeah, the 20th. Then you did know about Elwell all the time.
I know now. Sunday, the 20th. That was the day he came here first.
Came here first?
Yes.
You saw him twice then?
Yes, twice. First on the 20th of October. I remember because that was the day I first discovered the secret staircase, and we saw him from the roof. He was dressed just as he is in the picture in the newspaper. My husband saw him first. He was frightened and ran down ahead of me, but there was no one there. He had vanished.
You say Elwell vanished?
Yes. I see now what happened. He tried to come then, but he wasn't really dead. He couldn't reach us. He had to wait 2 months to die, and then he came back again, and Ned went with him. Oh, good Lord. I sent him to Ned. I told him where to go. I sent him to this room.
That's what they say about the Ling ghost. One never really knows that he's seen the ghost till afterward. Long afterward.
All the doctors at the rest home where they're treating Mrs. Mary Boyne are convinced that she's suffering from an almost historic sense of loss and bereavement because of the inexplicable disappearance of her husband. They're also all convinced that if only they could furnish her with a satisfactory explanation of that disappearance, she would be cured. But of course, we know better. At least, we who believe know that it's the explanation rather than the disappearance that's the root of her trouble. I'll be back in a moment. And now, the shortest ghost story in the world. The long, dark, memory-filled corridors of one of the great art museums of the world just before closing time. A man hastens to the exit. He's joined by another art lover. The first man says, "Hey, it's pretty spooky around here at this hour." "Yes," says the second man. "Do you believe in ghosts?" "No," says the first man. "Do you?" "Yes," replies the second, and vanishes. Our cast included Celeste Holm, Larry Haynes, Joan Shea, Guy Sorrell, and Ian Martin. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown.
This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Have you ever known terror? Have you ever come up against something that so threatened you, so horrified you, that it stopped your heart for a moment? If you never have, count yourself lucky. But don't count on your luck too much. After all, who's to say that terror may never touch you, huh? Consider Helen and Jim Crane. They never thought it would ever touch them. Our mystery drama, Blizzard of Terror, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by George Lothar and stars Lois Smith. Dare you join me now in a blizzard of terror? Not so fast, not so quick to answer yes. Are your nerves in shape for what lies ahead? Have you promised yourself a good night's sleep? A promise you want to keep? In simple brief, are you who now listen to my voice ready to cope with terror? Very well. You made the choice, not I. Come along, then. Well, come on.
That China will form no coalition with Russia in the foreseeable future. That's the world news. Now I have a special bulletin from the big Indian Sheriff's Office.
Jim, turn the radio
Sheriff
off.
Ed Ralston warns all motorists to stay off the roads on Thunder Mountain. Not only because of the blizzard, but also because the man sought for the brutal murder of the Grant family is believed to be hiding out somewhere on the mountain.
Jim, please, shut it off.
All of them, with a kitchen carving knife. The Grant family...
Thank you, Mr. Crane.
You're welcome, Mrs. Crane.
We don't need to be told again and again that we're in a blizzard on Thunder Mountain. We know we are, thanks to you. I'm sorry.
It's okay, skip it. Maybe it is my fault. Oh,
Jim!
Oh, wow, that was a close one. You know, I can't see the road. All I can see is snow.
What's that?
What's what?
There, just ahead, back under the trees. A cabin?
So?
We better stop.
Oh, no way.
Jim.
We're just managing to make it up this grade now. If we stop, we'll never get started
If
again.
we keep going, we're sure to get stuck. Those snowdrifts out there are getting worse.
Yeah, I know,
We'd be safer in that cabin.
we could freeze to
Jim,
death.
please, for once, listen to reason.
Okay, you win. You always do.
Don't stop here.
Well, you just said...
But not here. The cabin's over there.
If we drive in there, we will get stuck.
You really are going to have to get new glasses. Can't you see the road?
Oh, yeah. Tire tracks. Snowed over, but tracks.
Those tire tracks, they mean somebody's there. Yes. Look. Smoke's coming out of the chimney. Now, are you glad we turned in?
I'm swooning with delight.
You're angry because I was right.
When are you wrong? When are you ever wrong?
Oh, you are something. You are. You are really Why do we quarrel like this, fly at each other every time?
Well, maybe if you weren't so darned independent. Forget it. Forget it. Okay, come on.
Oh, this isn't. Life. It's so cool.
Yeah. All right, let's get inside. Fast. Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hello?
Just open the door and go in.
Well, I don't like to just barge in.
Jim, under the circumstances, if you won't, I will. Hello? Anyone here? Hello?
There must be somebody here. There's a fire smoldering in the fireplace. Here, look, there's a pipe in this ashtray. The tray is full of pipe ashes.
Oh, here's a coffee cup, half full.
Uh-huh.
There's a book open on the table. Huh. Jung's Psychology of the Unconscious. Whoever owns this place must be a brain. Hello? Anyone here? Hello?
Helen, don't do that. You've got no right to go nosing around.
Bedroom. Nobody in it. Must be the kitchen. Behind that door.
Helen!
Yes.
Let's just sit down and just wait for whoever owns this place to come back, huh?
I just want...
You've got no right, Helen. Now, the owner of this place must be the kind of person who wouldn't like people nosing around.
Oh, now,
I'm telling
really?
you. Just look at it. This isn't just a cabin. It's a kind of lodge. Here, that wall lined with books. There, a hi-fi. Stacks of records, all classical. And those paintings on the walls. Helen, please.
I want a cup of coffee, and if this door leads to the kitchen...
She just won't listen. Just won't ever listen. Well, what are you standing there for? Now that you've opened the door, go on in.
Oh. Good Lord.
What is it?
Oh. Jim. Oh, Jim.
Helen, what is it?
The kitchen. Oh, the kitchen.
Here, Helen, here. You better sit down. You look like you're going to faint. Now, you just sit there. I'll have a look. Oh, no. Oh, Helen, come on now. We better get out of here.
My God. Oh, Jim. Blood all over. And the axe. Did you see the axe?
Yeah, that's the first thing I saw. Come on.
Blizzard. We can't
stay here. There must have been some hell of a fight in that kitchen, and I'm not waiting for the winner to come back.
Oh, you don't suppose...
What?
The murderer? The murderer they're looking for, that man who slaughtered the Grant family. They said he was holed up somewhere on the mountain.
Helen, I don't know, and we're not going to hang around to find out. Now, come on, let's get out of here. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Jim Crane. This is my wife, Helen. We got caught in the blizzard, and we saw your cabin, and we just came in.
We were over at Big Mountain for a skiing weekend, and we started back too late, thanks to my husband.
Oh. Yeah, I guess it was my fault. You see, I don't ski. My wife does, but I don't, and well, I got into this poker game, and I was winning, and I couldn't quit when I was ahead. You know how it is?
You don't have to make any excuses to me, friend. Maybe to her, but not to me.
Well, I was just explaining.
Like ice in here. Better get that fire going again.
You needn't bother on our account.
I'm not.
Well, what I meant was we were just leaving.
Not in that blizzard, you're not, Mrs. Crane.
It's Miss Morgan, if you don't mind.
I thought you said she's your wife.
Well, she keeps her maiden name.
You kidding?
No,
You marry a doll and give her your name and she won't use it? What's the matter, excuse me, Ms. Morgan, you said, eh? What's the matter? Your husband's name isn't good enough for you?
It isn't that.
Then what is it?
I prefer to keep my own name, that's all. A lot of women do these days.
Yeah, they call it women's lib.
Women's what?
Lib. For liberation. You know, they keep their names, their independence, their jobs, everything.
Everything, eh? That's too bad. You were my wife, doll. You wouldn't keep your name or your job or, anything. What do you do besides letting her get away with all this?
Engineer. I'm an engineer.
You drive a train?
Oh, no, not that kind of engineer. Hydraulic engineer. Water power.
Oh. Cigarette?
No, thanks. I don't smoke.
You?
I don't smoke either. And I thought you...
Huh?
Nothing.
You thought I what?
Well, I noticed the pipe in the ashtray, so...
Oh, well, yes, I do smoke a pipe now and then. Cigarettes, too.
You haven't told us your name.
Jake.
Jake what?
Jake's enough. We need more wood. I'll get it.
Let's get out of here.
No, we can't.
Well, we've got to. He doesn't own this place. He doesn't live here. And from the looks of him, oh, good Lord, what a bruiser. He could be the murderer the sheriff's looking for. The blood on his clothes, it's all over Miss Parker.
Helen, we can't be sure it's blood.
What else could it be? And what about the cigarettes? There's not one cigarette in that ashtray. There's nothing but pipe ashes.
Yeah, that's true, all right.
And he's stupid. Totally uninformed. He couldn't be the man who reads these books, listens to that music. He never heard of women's lib. He thought you drove a train.
Helen, we can't leave. We could die out there.
We can die in here. And I have a feeling we will, if we don't get...
I'll hold us for a while. And enough wood in the shed to keep us warm through the night. Though with a little lady like this to keep you warm, you wouldn't have to worry too much, would you? Well, don't look so upset, Jimmy boy, would you? I wouldn't. But then I'd see to that. Not a bad idea, come to think of it. How about a drink, sweetie? Or don't you do that either?
I could use a drink, yes.
You, Jim?
Thanks, yes. What do you do, Jake?
Right now, nothing.
Well, I mean when you do something.
Let's see, we got scotch, bourbon, vodka. What'll it be?
Helen?
Scotch.
Huh?
I said scotch.
No, please?
Excuse me, please.
Jimmy boy?
The same. Please.
One thing you gotta say for men. They got better manners than women. Well, come on, pull up to the fire here. Let's all get, cozy. That okay with you, Helen?
It'll certainly be warmer by the fire.
That isn't what I said.
I know what you said.
What'd I say? Here you are.
Thank you.
Showing better manners. Good.
Thanks.
That's better. Easy chair, warm fire, drink. That's much better.
Nice place you've got here.
It's all right.
You must do a lot of reading, all those books.
I read some, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I see you like classical music, too. Who are your favorites? Composers, I mean. Beethoven, maybe?
Yes, I like Beethoven.
Oh, me too. I'm especially fond of his 10th Symphony.
Oh, yes, I go for that, too. Well, I don't know about you two, but I'm getting hungry. Could use some supper. How about it?
Yeah, I could eat.
You, sweetie?
Oh, I suppose, yes.
Good. But first, we'll have to clean up the kitchen. It's a real bloody mess out there, and I mean bloody.
What do you mean bloody?
Just said there's blood all over. All over me, too. See?
Oh, yes.
How, what happened?
I didn't want to kill him. I had to. I surprised him out there in the kitchen, and he came for me. There was an axe, and it was the handiest thing, and I used that. I sank it into his skull, deep. I couldn't help thinking of the Grant family.
The Grant?
Yes, you haven't heard about that. Whole family down in the valley. Slaughtered. Blood all over. Like out there in the kitchen. Well, we better get to it.
You mean me?
There's a lot to clean up. I can't do it by myself.
Jim will help you.
No, you will.
I'd rather not.
I didn't ask you whether you'd rather or wouldn't. I'm telling you. I'll give you 2 minutes to get out in this kitchen with me and get to work.
There is no Beethoven 10th. Oh, Jim, what have we got ourselves into?
Helen, better humor him. Go on now. You better go on out into that kitchen.
I'm scared. I just can't be in that kitchen, not alone with him. Oh, you saw the way he looks at me. The things he says.
Oh, don't worry. I'll protect you.
You.
Well, how about it, dollface? Are you coming?
Yes. Yes. I'm coming.
Helen and Jim feel the first stirrings of terror. But worse, much worse, lies ahead for them. Suppose now that you, not Jim and Helen Crane, but you had sought shelter from the blizzard in that forsaken mountain cabin. You had met this strange and quite obviously murderous man who calls himself Jake. Suppose you, not Helen, are helping him, against your will, to clean up the shambles in the kitchen. The bloody shambles.
Well, that's it, I guess.
The axe needs to be washed. There's blood all over it. Well, go on, wash it.
I can't touch it.
And not as liberated, wasn't that the word, as you thought?
I don't see what that's got to do with it.
I kind of got the impression you felt you could do anything a man could do. All right, I'll wash the axe. You start making supper. Well, what are you standing there for? Get busy.
I don't know where anything is.
Lots of canned stuff in that closet, and there's a can over on the wall. Think you know how to use it?
I'll try.
Spunky, aren't you?
Spunky.
You know there was a killing in this kitchen this afternoon, and I was the one used this axe. You know that, but you got the nerve to stand up to me. Maybe too much nerve.
There's beans and spaghetti, stew, and that's about it. What do you want?
You decide. I figure you're good at deciding things. That's what's wrong between you and your hubby.
How do you know there's something wrong?
No sweat. 5 minutes with the two of you, and anybody could see you're too pushy. And him, he's too much the other way. Yep, like I said, you're too spunky. Somebody ought to take a little of it out of you.
Get your hands off me.
Oh, come on now.
Now let me go. Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Hey, what's going on here?
Oh.
What's going on? Well, you might say I was, starting to do what you should do, Jimmy boy.
Well, don't try that again. You do.
And you won't do any more than you're doing right now.
Oh, no? Oh, no?
Oh, Jim, please. It's all right now. No harm done. I'm not hurt or anything.
What's the big deal, Jimmy boy? Little kiss between friends. What's to get psyched up about? Come on, chum. Let's you and me have a friendly drink while Ellen gets supper ready.
No, I don't want to.
Come on. You know how to use that can opener, sweetie?
I'll manage.
That's my girl. Scotch, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see you tried to use the phone. Don't look so surprised. You put it back the wrong way around.
The phone's dead.
I could have told you that.
The wires are down, I guess.
No. I cut the wires.
You cut... I see.
You drink, Jimmy boy. Cheers. Oh, and by the way, in case you've got any other ideas about getting help, those guns over the fireplace aren't loaded. And neither is that revolver on the mantel.
Jake.
Yeah?
I'll make a deal with you.
What gives you the idea that you're in any position to make a deal?
I'm not, but you've got aces back to back. I know that, but I'm still in the game, Jake.
You're a good poker player. You're bluffing, but I'd never be able to tell it in your face.
Are you going to listen?
All ears.
Let us go, Helen and me. Let us go, and we won't say a thing, not a thing, to anybody.
About what?
What? You know.
I don't know.
Look, I don't want to spell it out.
You got no choice. I hold aces back to back, like you said.
All right. My wife and I, we have a pretty good idea who you are. You know that, or I wouldn't be telling you.
Uh-huh.
So, what you're thinking, once these two leave here, they'll contact the sheriff and give him a lead on me. Well, all I want to say is, just give us a break and we won't say a word to anybody.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And in return,
you just let us go.
Who's holding you?
Well, you know what I mean. We can't go now, not with that blizzard out there. I mean, tomorrow or the next day, whenever the plow comes through and clears the road, I want you to let us live.
What for? Answer me that, Jimmy boy. What for?
Well, that's a crazy question.
Yeah? Let me tell you something. Tell me. You in love with your wife? You can't answer that, huh? She in love with you? Can't answer that either, huh? Can you? How long you been married? You can answer that.
3 years.
What happened, Jimmy? What happened between the time 3 years ago you two couldn't wait to get married, I'll bet, and now, when you can't wait to get divorced? You are thinking about divorce, aren't you?
Well, we don't get along, that's for sure, but...
But what? You're at each other's throats day in and day out, right? Nothing but fights, arguments, frustrations on both sides. From the minute you get up till you go to bed, right? Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
And you want to live? For what?
Well, you keep hoping things will change.
They won't. Unless you make them change. Very few ever do. They keep hoping right into the grave, hoping. Like the Grants.
Why did you kill the Grants?
They killed themselves. They were dead long before they were put out of their misery. Like you and her. I'll make a deal with you, Jimmy.
I'm listening.
You give me a good reason why you should go on living. And it's a deal.
We want to.
No. You just don't want to die. Now, that wasn't a bad meal, sweetie. You're real talented with a can opener.
Thank you.
Storm's getting worse. Yeah, we're really snowed in now. Drifts above the windowsills. Better build this fire up, and then I guess we'll hit the sack. Where do you want to sleep, sweetie? Come on now. You shouldn't have any trouble making up your mind.
Oh, I haven't. I'll sleep with my husband, as usual.
As usual?
What kind of a crack is that?
Now, cool it, Jimmy boy.
Well, I won't have my wife insulted. I don't care how big you are, Jake, or how tough or cold-blooded. I won't have you insulted.
Jim, now stop it. This is no time for gallantry. You're no match for him. He'd kill you.
Besides, you took me the wrong way. All I meant was, Well, come on now, be honest. How long has it been since you two did sleep together as husband and wife?
That's no business of yours.
Long time, huh? Well, the minute I laid eyes on you, the way you acted toward each other, looked at each other, the way you talked, anybody could see you hated each other.
We don't hate each other.
You love each other? You see, that's what I mean. You two. You don't hate, you don't love. You don't nothing. And you ask me, that's a nutty way to live. So how about it, sweetie?
How about what?
There's a nice big double bed in that bedroom, and it's going to be a cold night. And me, I sure appreciate it.
I warn you, Jake.
Oh, Jim! I'll sleep out here on the couch.
Come here, sweetie.
What? Oh.
Let old Jake see if he can change your mind.
God, hey, now.
Get
what
your
are you
hands off her.
Me.
You dirty...
Jim!
Why,
you shut...
little creep.
Hit me, would you?
I guess I will hold you for a while, Jimmy boy. Now you, dog.
Oh, no! You can kill me if you want to. You could torture me for hours, but I would never.
Suit yourself. No, I think about it. What would I want with you? Oh, when Jimmy boy comes to, tell him not to get any ideas in the night about escaping or overpowering me. He hasn't a chance.
Jim? Jim?
Oh, I'll be okay. He sure packs a mean wallop.
You shouldn't have even thought of standing up to him.
Some things a man will take and some things he won't. And manhandling his wife is one of them.
Jim, can we get out? Do you think? Would there be any way?
No. We're snowed in. Even if we could get to the car, we wouldn't be able to drive it afoot in those drifts.
What about telephoning for help?
Oh, the phone's dead. He cut the wires.
Oh.
But don't you worry. Don't you worry, Helen. There's one thing he overlooked.
What?
That revolver on the mantelpiece. This.
It's loaded?
Not yet, but it's going to be. He made a big point about those guns over the mantel and this revolver having no bullets in them. I knew that without being told. Those guns were the first thing I went for when you two were in the kitchen.
But if they're unloaded...
Well, I nosed around. I couldn't find any ammunition for the guns on the wall, but I found these in that drawer.
Do they fit?
Looks as if they ought to. We'll soon find out.
They do. They fit.
Yeah, thank heavens.
What do we do now?
We'll wait till morning. But we're safe now, Helen. Safe.
Thanks to you, darling.
You know, you haven't called me that in I don't know when.
Jim, there's something I forgot to mention. I kind of figure you must have found the bullets for that revolver in the desk drawer. You did, didn't you?
What of it?
Don't bother loading that gun. It doesn't work. The trigger's broken. Night.
Helpless once again, Jim and Helen can only stare at each other as fear touches them with icy fingers. I'll be back shortly with Act 3. Terror's icy fingers grip Helen and Jim Crane as they face all but certain death at the hands of Jake. Curious, though, isn't it? Even strange, that their fear, shared in common, brings them closer to each other than ever before in the 3 years of their marriage. Strange. Curious.
Jim?
Oh, I didn't know you were awake.
I've hardly slept.
I'm sorry. I've done the best I could with this fire through the night to keep the room warm.
I know. I watched you get up out of that chair again and again. Thank you, Jim.
What?
You did it mostly for me. For my comfort. Thank you.
Oh, nonsense. I need a little warmth, too, you know.
You don't get much, do you? From me.
Could be I don't rate much.
I think you do.
Why do you withhold it?
I only just found out.
Found out?
It wasn't the cold that kept me awake through the night. It was thinking about Jake and us.
Yeah, well, we'll manage a way out of this. I don't know how, but we will.
I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about something he said last night. He said, we don't hate each other, we don't love, we don't nothing. And then he said, you ask me, that's a nutty way to live. Well, it is, isn't it?
If what he said was true about us, but it isn't.
It is.
Not for me. I did a lot of thinking, too. I love you, Helen. I always have. It's just that...
Yes?
I don't know. It seems I can't reach you anymore. Something happened to us along the way, and I can't figure out what it is.
I think I can.
Tell me.
I don't know. I think maybe it's just the times we live in. I mean, oh, well. Take women's lib.
I don't see anything wrong with women's lib. The fact is, I'm all for it if it doesn't go too far.
It did with me, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
I do. I wanted to be... I still want to be my own person. Myself. Me. The last thing I wanted was to be dependent on anyone, and I guess especially on you. But last night, oh, Jim, I was scared. And when you fought for me, when you, well, you just went for him like a raging animal, Jim, and you did it for me. I know you wouldn't have done it for yourself, or maybe for anyone, but you did it for me. Oh, Jim, I needed you. I really did need you.
Well, maybe the truth is... The simple truth is that we need each other. I don't mean just you and me, but everybody. I mean, we're all in the same boat, aren't we? Same world. We are dependent on each other, so... Why do we fight it?
I'm not fighting it anymore. I made up my mind to that during the night. Jim, I love you. You are a wonderful husband, only I just never gave you the chance to be.
Oh, Helen, sweetheart.
Oh, I do love you. Oh, Jim, I do. Oh, I do.
Oh, dearest.
Well, look what's going on here. When did you two scrappers become lovebirds? Never mind. The fire needs building up. Get some wood, Jim. It's out back in the shed.
Okay.
So, you think you've fallen in love with your husband all over again, eh?
You were listening. You overheard.
Laugh myself sick.
I don't see anything funny about it.
You wouldn't. You believe it. So does he. Fact is, the two of you in the same boat, and know you better row together or else.
Or else what?
You'll find out, sweetie.
What will you take to let us go?
Kind of putting the cart before the horse, aren't you? Go where?
The blizzard has stopped.
But those drifts out there must be 6 to 8 feet high.
They must plow that road. They have to keep it open. A plow is sure to come through, if not today, tomorrow.
Could be.
Well, then.
Well, then what?
Don't kill us. Let us go.
Why should I?
I'll give you anything you want. I'll do anything you want.
How do you know what I want? What makes you so sure you can supply it?
You've made that plain enough. Jake, I beg you, let us live. At least, let Jim live. And I'll do anything.
Oh, Jim!
Oh, what happened?
Jim.
Oh, I was bringing an armful of wood and I stepped on a log. Oh, twisted my ankle.
Here, let me give you a hand. Just lean on me. Now, take it easy.
Jim, dear.
Easy now, easy. Yeah, sit right there.
Let me get that shoe off.
Let him get it off himself. He's no cripple. You get out in the kitchen and scare up some breakfast. You heard me.
Oh, the pain.
See if you can stand on it.
Stand?
Try it.
Oh, I can't. I'm helpless. Oh.
Yeah. Real helpless. Hey, you make a good cup of coffee, Doe.
Thank you. I'll get another cold compress for your ankle, Jim.
He's all right.
I
said he's okay. Let him worry about his ankle. You and me have some unfinished business.
What is this? Helen, what is this?
It's the only way.
What only way? What are you talking about?
Jim, I made a deal with him.
A deal?
I said I'd do anything if he'd let us go.
Are you out of your mind?
He's going to kill us. Now, you know that.
You're crazy. He'll get what he wants and then he'll kill us.
No.
Yes.
No, because I'm going to kill him with this
kitchen knife.
All I want is to get close enough to him.
No, you can't do that. It isn't in you to do that.
It's got to be. There isn't any other way.
What's keeping you?
I'm coming.
And leave the knife, doll. These petitions are awful thin. You ought to know that by now. Put the knife down, I said.
Stay where you are, Helen.
She made a deal. And she's gone through with it.
Over my dead body.
No, you fool. Over your live body.
Over my life?
He said he'd spare you.
Spare me? He said us.
She lied. She made the bargain to save you.
Helen, you would...
I love you. I love you, Jim. I told you that. I love you.
And I love you, Helen, a lot too much to let you go through with anything like this.
What you figure you can do about it, huh? You can't even stand, not on that bad ankle you can't.
Oh, yes, I can.
Jimmy, boy, not you. Now, down.
No. I can't. I can't go through with it.
Oh, yes, you can.
Leave her alone. Leave her alone.
Oh, please, I can't.
Stop it, you hear me? Stop it.
Jim. You... How did you...
I don't know, Helen. I somehow grabbed the poker and made it across the floor and hit him with it. I don't know how I did it. Oh, I've got to sit down and get off this.
Oh, here. Oh, lean on me. All right, now. Easy.
Yeah, thanks. Better have a look at him, Helen, see if he's breathing. I may have killed him.
He's breathing. His head's bleeding where you hit him.
All right, get something to tie him up with. See if there's some rope around. And snap it up. He's coming to.
Oh, yes. It's the phone.
He said he cut the wires.
He couldn't have. It was a bluff. Hello? Sheriff? It's the sheriff in Big Indian. Who? Professor Moran. No. There is a man here. I'm afraid he's hurt. Me? My name's Helen Crane. My husband and I got caught in last night's blizzard, and we managed to get to this cabin, and we found... Well, there was blood all over the kitchen, and an axe.
Helen, look out. Jake,
it's all right. All right.
The poker. Helen, the poker. Hit him again.
No, you've got it all wrong. All wrong.
Helen, hit him.
Give me that phone. Hello, Ed. Yes, it's Jake. No, it's okay. Everything's okay. No, I'm not worried at all. I knew you'd check as soon as they got the service back on. What? Oh, that. Bobcat. Yeah, Bobcat. Surprised him in the kitchen. Killed him with a wood axe. Handiest thing. Yeah, I guess so. Prowling for food, sure. Oh, well, a nice young couple. No, I'm very much alive. I'll explain when I see you. The plow. When? Good. No, we're okay. Plenty of wood, plenty of food. Thanks, Ed. So long.
You... Professor Moran?
Yes?
Why? I don't get it. We thought you were the killer they're looking for.
Yes, I know.
Why didn't you tell us who you were? Why didn't you explain about the blood in the kitchen?
Well, more important, why did you act the way you did? You acted the part of the killer.
Yes. Why did I act a part? Well, you were guinea pigs, I'm afraid.
Guinea pigs?
Yes, I'm head of the Department of Psychology at City University. I sized you two up the minute I saw you. Your marriage was headed for the rocks, and like most couples, you didn't know it.
No, I guess we didn't.
Like any other young marrieds in this day and age, you'd lost contact with each other. We're going separate ways. Well, I set out to bring you back together, and as I said before, people in the same boat have to pull together. All I did was put you both in the same boat by making you face a common danger. A danger that never existed.
Well, I'm hanged.
You carried things pretty far, Professor Moran.
Too far, my dear, much too far. You'll find aspirin in the medicine cabinet. Bring me a couple, would you? On second thought, bring the bottle.
And so terror turns to surprise and relief. Pretty shrewd fellow, Professor Moran, wouldn't you say? I mean, realizing that Jim and Helen were headed for divorce, that took keen insight into human nature. But then, he was, after all, a trained psychologist. I'll be back in just a moment. Marriage is two people in the same boat. A cliche, of course. But the very core of every cliche is truth. All is not gold that glitters. A stitch in time saves nine, and so on. I couldn't help thinking that all humanity is in the same boat. And what an infinitely better and happier world it would be if we all learned to pull together. Our cast included Lois Smith, Larry Haynes, and Leon Janney. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
Everywhere. This is your friend in music. KIXI Stereo 96, Seattle.
CBS News. There was no mincing of words Monday night in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Just one. Watergate led to a stunning election defeat. This is Steve Young reporting on the CBS Radio Network. Democrat Robert Vanderveer defeated Republican Robert Vander Laan for the congressional seat vacated by Gerald Ford when he became vice president. This, though the district is heavily Republican, and Ford had been its representative for 25 years. Van der Veen called his campaign a referendum on Watergate, and in an interview a few minutes ago with CBS News, he stuck to that theme.
From the day that I announced that I would be a candidate, I have suggested that the president should resign. Nothing has happened in the intervening 2 months to change my mind, and I think that's what the whole election was all about. The people had a clear chance to express themselves on how they feel about the Nixon administration, and they spoke loud and clear.
Van der Veen's Republican opponent had run with the endorsement of Vice President Ford, who told the Grand Rapids Press, "I'm very disappointed in the results. I'm sure," said the Vice President, "it's a reflection of the uncertain economic conditions in Michigan particularly, and in the country generally. I am confident that as the economy improves, there will be greater support for Republican candidates." But the Michigan State Republican chairman did not look to the economy, said William McLaughlin, "Watergate killed us." San Francisco publisher Randolph Hearst is looking for a group to distribute $2 million worth of food to California's poor. He announced that he and the Hearst Foundation have come up with the money as a first step in negotiating the release of his daughter, Patricia. The Symbionese Liberation Army says it kidnapped Patricia 2 Mondays ago from her Berkeley apartment and will consider the food plan a show of goodwill. One of those acting as intermediary in San Francisco between the Hearst family and the SLA is a leader of the American Indian movement, Dennis Banks, a key figure during the occupation last year of Wounded Knee. As a result, there's been a delay in Banks' trial in St. Paul. Rich Holter of CBS affiliate WCCO reports.
The announcement of at least a one-day recess in the Wounded Knee trial came from defense attorney Ken Tilson, who says District Court Judge Fred Nickel made the decision after several conversations with members of the Hearst family.
Judge Nickel indicated that he later spoke to Mr. Hearst, to Mrs. Hearst, and to Patty Hearst's sister, and as a result of those conversations, the judge was convinced that the Hearst family felt that Dennis's Banks' presence was important and critical in the negotiations, and critical possibly to saving the life of Patty Hearst.
Tilson says the judge will make decisions about any additional delays on a day-to-day basis. As for Banks' role in the negotiations, Tilson said he thinks the AIM leader has come up with some suggestions that someone must be listening to. Rich Holzer for CBS News, St. Paul.
Back in a minute.
It's all a matter of justice. I'm Mike Wallace, CBS News. And this Saturday and Sunday, the 23rd and 24th of February, I'm anchorman for our next big weekend special, A Hearing for American Justice. It's about people and the law, about the whole system. From life in a police patrol car to the problems of prison and parole. From juvenile crime to juvenile punishment. From plea bargaining to inequities in sentencing. The high cost of justice. Listen to A Hearing for American Justice. 30 special reports all about how the law affects you. Join our nationwide jury as CBS News presents A Hearing for American Justice this weekend, the 23rd and 24th, on the CBS Radio Network. It'll be some of the most important listening you do this year.
President Nixon's one-time campaign manager, John Mitchell, and former Commerce Secretary Maurice Stans go on trial Tuesday morning in New York in connection with a secret $200,000 contribution to the Nixon re-election campaign. The president returned to the White House Monday after making a speech in Huntsville, Alabama, and stopping in Indianapolis to pick up daughter Julie Eisenhower, where she underwent surgery last Thursday. Predictions all around are for a close vote when the Senate decides Tuesday whether to approve the Emergency Energy Control Bill. Washington State Senator Henry Jackson says the oil industry has been putting the strong arm on senators to vote no because the bill contains price rollback provisions. I'm Steve Young, CBS News.